Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We open the work sessions with public comments. Is there anyone who has anything public that's not on the agenda, an agenda item for today? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, Pam?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. I just want to have a short conversation on what occurred at Wednesday's West Neck Water Board Directors meeting.
On
I
Friday?
had requested that certain things get posted online, and I didn't see anything posted online prior to the discussion. This has become an issue of what's public knowledge, what's available to the public, what is legally the responsibility of the town to post things prior to meetings in conjunction with the Public Officers Law, also known as the Open Meetings Law. I don't want to have a big discussion about that, but it seems that there's been a customer of the district who has been foiling for documents and getting no response because these documents aren't in the town clerk's office. That's a little disturbing. What also disturbed me was that there were applications now for folks who want to get to expand into the district. And those applications are not being processed by the town. They haven't been sent to the building department. I find that disturbing. I find it disturbing that at that meeting, they said that this water district does not have the capability to handle irrigation, much less fire protection. And therefore, why could we possibly expand this district? And I find it disturbing that Suffolk County Water Authority said that someone told them that it was okay to accept one particular application that came in for the Blooms for their subdivision. This was never discussed in a town meeting. This hasn't been proven that in the lease agreement, there is legal language that would allow for this to occur. So there were a lot of missing pieces going on at that meeting. I think that there should be financial reports more than just bank account statements and what's in them. This is a $1.7 million lease agreement that the town has with Suffolk County Water Authority. And the financials and the data and everything should be available to the public. And I think that there needs to be a better discussion with this town board to see how you're going to handle this district and this town-owned infrastructure moving forward. So these are my concerns of the day, and I thank you for your time for listening to them. I hope that you get together, have a conversation, make sure that things are more publicly available in regard to this district. Thanks.
Thank you. We will, I'll make a note to go back, listen to all of the questions and concerns in there, and we will discuss at a future work session. Anyone else? Okay. The first or the next item on the agenda is business on town property. And we have Venture Out coming back before us. And the purpose of doing a permit review for Venture Out is we're trying to get to a resolution. We want, we're looking for the business to stay within the parameters that we as a town board set, but also work with the business so that they can, operate the way they need to operate without fear of getting tickets or risk of suspension or revocation of their permit. So we're looking to hear from the business owner on what his revised request is for us to consider. So Matt?
Board Supervisor, how you doing? My name is Matthew Stromberg. I'm from out Shelter Island. We've been a paddleboard and kayak business on Shelter Island for 15 years. We've been on Pleasant Beach for 13 years. We've serviced somewhere around 15,000 users, and we did a tally early on in the summer, 45,000 children we have serviced and taught how to paddleboard over the years. So, and from what I learned, we've become somewhat of a Shelter Island staple. And, like comply, operate all the guidelines the town board provides. And it's not my first time here, and, you know, we just want to make sure that this is all resolved here, the resolution is set. And we have been transparent with the town since the beginning, and it just seems that there are some discrepancies within the resolutions, and we want to just make sure that the town understands how we operate, how we can continue operating. And so there are no issues going forward. I know I submitted a PDF kind of late today. I had some issues. It was just a giant PDF. I hope everyone got it, and everyone received it. That's on me. I apologize. The issue that arose was I'm not within a 20 by 20 foot area. In my letter from the town this year, it says nothing about that. It says 400 square feet. The letter that was used by the police to survey my area on July 4th was a different version of the resolutions than I have. That is on the last page of the PDF that you guys have. What Venture Out goes off of is my letter of approval. So this has sort of put us in a bind, and it's also created some static between us and the police, and we don't want that ever. You know, we comply, we are transparent, and you know, we just want to be, you know, we want to be transparent with the town. In this packet, what I have described is that we have always operated at 400 square feet. But what we do is we've been operating in two separate spaces. Crescent Beach is 60 feet deep. There's absolutely no way to be 20 feet from the water and operate successfully. Our equipment needs to be in the water. That's what we do. We are a paddleboard and kayak rental business. So if the beach is 60 feet deep, we need to put our equipment into the water. In the diagram that's on the screen right now, you will see a staging area, is what we call it, or a shoreline area, that we only require that it's 22 to 24 feet wide by 1 kayak deep, which would be about 11 feet deep. Square footage is in the packet as well. It's about 240 square feet. There's a math page that has everything. Page 2. Now, everything else that we use is stored along the railing or next to it within two feet from the railing. I've never seen anyone on the beach ever sit there ever. It is sort of a space that is unused. Our tent jetties out about 10 feet. Our storage container is a 4x6 approved by the town. And our paddleboards lean on the rail and only kind of protrude about 2 feet into the sand on either side. And we use up at about maximum 14 feet wide. And now we've used a new system where we're double stacking our boards. So now we're doing it about 7 feet. So actually my math is less on the square footage for that. Without lying, without fudging, without cheating, we are at 406 square feet. So we're right at the mark of what we're doing. Now, what we've discussing with the police, we've come up with an idea. This runway system that you have on the screen right now. The runway system will give beachgoers the idea that all the sand to the right and all the sand to the left is free to sit. Instead of before that possibly that area might be used for traffic. And now the traffic will be contained into a 4 to 6 wide area where we will just travel back and forth from the tent to the shoreline, and everything to the left and right is free to sit. It's always been that way, but with these markers, I think there will be no discrepancy on where anyone will be able to sit or not. Excuse me, just grab some water. There are many reasons why we need a wider space in this shape. So we don't need a box, we need a T shape. Our equipment needs to be loaded on and off the rail, it needs to dry in the sun. Our life jackets need to dry in the sun. Our business can simply not operate in a square shape. It has to operate in this T shape. And with this newly developed runway system, we can transport to the staging area, which is within the square footage of 400 square feet, back to the bulkhead, which nobody sits at, which is within the 400 square feet, safely, and it will give a delineated space for beachgoers to know how we can transport boards back and forth. And when we get busy and there's a little bit of creep on either side, everything will immediately get pushed right back to the rail, restored, reset, and we can continue moving. And that 22 feet will be reset as fast as we can.
So you said you worked this out with police department? The runway?
The runway was developed after the resolutions that were being used by the police department stated that I have to have all of this stuff within a certain area, within one space. It is impossible. It is just totally impossible. When this law was created, we were one of the first business, we were the first businesses around when this was created. Now, this keeping it within a 20 by 20, it's not even possible. But we are at 400 square feet. It's just the 20 by 20 is impossible. The 20 by 20 was on some resolutions that an older version that the police were using. The version that I was issued by the town did not have that.
Well, the reason I ask is the Shelter Island Police Department is charged with protecting public safety.
Correct.
If they worked with you on this, that's
Yes,
an
so the chief came up with an idea to have a runway space because there is a illusion or an idea, and there's no complaints about it, that the space is being used for the business. With this runway system that Chief Reed did come up with the idea, it will provide the idea for beachgoers that the space on the right and the space on the left is free to sit. And it will just be this space down the center that is being used for traffic for us to move equipment safely from the front of the beach back to the back of the beach after it's being used.
And what will be used to delineate this runway?
If you scroll up on there, we actually use these hose corner things and paint them red, and they work great. No one trips over them, there's no ropes, there's no nothing, they go right in the sand, they're made of plastic. They work perfectly. We'll remove them and take them out every day, we'll keep them at an arm's length wide. That'll just allow us to move stuff in and out of the beach, and it will provide a line on either side of us to operate, that anyone that is coming down from unpacking their car, that they can set up wherever they please. And it's just this little strip that just saying this is just a high traffic area.
So this strip is approximately 5 feet wide?
The easy way to do it is should we just say an arm's length, so.
Good.
Instead of, if we were not to have that area, if the whole area was, just widely open, which it always has been, and people in the height of the summer, people do put their blankets there, people do put their chairs there, and we've always said, excuse me, and walked around people, and that's never been a problem before. But with this runway, it gives people, they will know that they can put their towel right up to it, they can put their tent right up to it, and that all that space that has been assumed that is ours is totally gone. It is just This is just a runway allowing us to move equipment safely up and down the beach so that, people can use our equipment. And it is a safe export from the shoreline back to the bulkhead.
Also, I feel slow about asking this question, but so in your calculation of 406 square feet, does that include this runway?
No, it does not. This was actually figured out after the fact, once the police used the old resolutions to put me into this 20 by 20 box that I complied with. And I did that. And so we have this runway now set up, which we set up every day. But the thing is, we're not at our busiest. We're worried about getting busy. And being able to have that staging area out front allows us to bring people in and out of the water safely, allows us to reset equipment safely, allows us to have equipment on display safely, allows us to teach lessons at the water's edge, allows us to explain the do's and don'ts, we call it the where to go, where not to go, which we explain to every single person that goes out on the water. The way that we have the beach set up currently, that we've complied with the police department and the resolutions that are incorrect, everything is against the bulkhead. So there is really no correlation when you're renting something. We're renting stuff at the water and you're nowhere near the water. You're up by a spider web bulkhead.
Let me just, let me ask my colleagues this question. So if this is okay by us, do we have to modify this permit for the extra 150 square feet? Because it's 5 by 30. Or do we not have to do that?
True, because it does say 400. I think we'd want to probably put the parameters in just so that it's clear for everyone to know what we're operating under. That would be my recommendation. I did have a question, the storage box. It looks like it's like pretty far away. Can you tighten that up?
We can, we're willing to bring it in a little bit, absolutely. We just use that area in between. It is in the packet. We describe why that is the distance away that it is. We put our tent in between the two white posts just for security purposes. And that area is, there are many slow days at the beach, but there are also very many busy days. And there are many children that run up and there are many people and their stuff gets stored in that area. And that's the area that we use. It's in between.
Supervisor, I'm going to hold my comment until he's done. If I want to conclude that,
Okay, I think I got that. It sounded like it got cut off.
Yeah, you broke up.
yeah, I'm sorry about that. I was just going to hold my comment until Matt's done with his presentation.
Okay.
And if that is an issue and you want us to kind of pull in the storage box, we are willing to do that as well. And once again, the runway idea, it's more of a safety thing. There's really, it's 60 feet to the water. We put things in the water. So when the law changed, granting us only 20 feet, it's sort of, well, how do we do that? Can't operate that. Paddleboards are 11 feet long. So how do we even operate that way? So we found a way. This runway system has sort of been like a last minute thing, but we would like it not to be part of the 400 square feet, but it's more of a safety thing that would allow us to operate. And we will keep our shoreline access or staging area within that zone with the 22 to 24 feet wide by 12 feet deep. And we will maintain that, and we will maintain the runway, and we will maintain all of our square footage against the rail, and we will not go wider, and we will not creep, and we will not, we will keep everything nice and tight. And it will give, I guarantee it, on busier days, it will give the impression that all that sand is free.
So Matt, let's just be clear on one thing. The runway area that you're depicting in the picture that's on the screen now,
Yes.
it didn't include the boats at the beach. So we asked you to stack those boats that you show, the blue boat, the four blue, the two green, and the two yellow, were not inclusive of our agreement for the weekend, right? Those were stacked between the tent and the storage
I think
shed.
this is not the diagram for what you and I had discussed. We've been setting up
Right,
that
but
way.
I wanted to be clear.
We have been setting up that way ever since. This is the way that we are trying to continue to set up, that is within the 400 square feet, that is prior to what you made us change based on the resolutions that were not what we were served.
Right, I just wanted to be clear to Councilman Diet that while the runway is depicted here, it didn't include those vessels at the beach.
Correct.
Because
This is what we're looking to do.
this is what they're looking to do.
Correct. And it's how we used to do it in the past.
Yes,
Minus the runway. So adding the runway would,
Can I share my screen, Christina? Just drop that share and I'll show you a profile of what that looks like minus the runway, just so that they can see the. So Matt, this is a pretty accurate picture, right?
correct.
Right. So in our understanding and being part of the conversation when the businesses on town property were agreed upon, it was my understanding, although it may not have been transcribed perfectly, that it was designed to have a 20 by 20 area and not have those broken up into separate parcels. Let me just finish, right? So with that said, when it's broken up, our concern can you see my cursor, Supervisor?
Yes.
That's what you said.
When these are stored along the beach, it's very difficult for people to want to sit in this area here. The 20 foot along the bulkhead is from this edge of the storage container and ends about halfway into this tent. Okay, that's 20 feet wide. What you see stacked against this rail and half of the tent is beyond the first 20 feet. Okay, this larger board is within that. And what we had asked Matt to do, and he complied with, was take these vessels and stack them inside this area so that he would operate as close to a 20 by 20 area, which we've granted to the other businesses, and then created a runway for that safety area that he agreed would be 4 feet wide to the beach. And
How we're
so
operating now.
with that said, I think so that we don't create a situation where we have other businesses that we've already granted permits to, sticking with that 20 by 20 area, operating in that business envelope with a safety passage to the beach probably would work in this area if you're looking for my recommendation. Those are my comments.
Chief,
I
just
have
to
a
be,
question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just trying to be clear. So, Chief, to be clear, so your recommendation is to take the equipment that's down on the water's edge and move it up towards the bulkhead.
Right, and so again, just to go back, Councilman Diet, and I explained this to Ben, we work at the behest of the town board. My understanding from the town board, it was a 20 by 20 area. So we're asking him to comply at the beach with what was granted by the town. I agree, Matt, I agree with you that there is some slight confusion. It might not have been transcribed perfectly, but my understanding is that the agreement was 20 by 20 and that he should operate within that 20 by 20 area unless this board determines otherwise.
Well, do you feel, Chief Reed, that the equipment down on the water's edge is an obstruction or?
I would say that people aren't as inclined to use that area of the beach. And that's where, if you saw the notation from Sergeant Rando when speaking with Matt, that the area becomes, and I can share the screen just one more times because it's easier to me to talk from a picture. You end up using the whole area, and Matt, this isn't your doing. What happens is that from this marker here, you basically end up, now look, from here to where these boards are stacked is probably closer to 60 feet. Matt, you probably have the exact measurement because if 40 feet's in here where this post is, right, it's probably closer to 60. No, people generally will not congregate in that 60-foot wide straight out to the beach, and that's what we were trying to denote.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes,
Are those pegs that delineate the runway, are they loosely enough planted in the sand so a child running by who kicks one with a bare foot that will have them give way so as not to hurt the child or cause pain?
Yes, I mean, we did not want to use rope or anything like that. We thought of it. I bought rope. And we just thought, how do we line out the sand? Volleyball courts are lined out with rope or a strap. So there are always some sort of rope laying in the sand with spikes that hold it down. So this trial and error, we're using, it's basically a garden hose disc that you would use to prevent it from getting snagged on corners. So far, no issues. If, I have a 3.5-year-old, they do things unexpectedly all the time, that you don't expect. So, but being that we painted them bright safety red, and there's not going to be that many of them, and they have gaps in between them, hopefully nothing like that would happen.
What's the composition of the bottom of them? And how long
It's
is
a
that to
plastic
go in the
spike,
ground?
but about that big.
Plastic.
Yeah, it just goes into the sand.
Yeah, Matt, I think it's a great idea, but I would share the same concern that the town attorney has, that if the town were to grant that space to go to the beach, that we probably should develop something slightly different than that.
Okay, that's great. I would,
Yeah, no, but
I would be, I would be open to that. I just
Yeah.
kind of.
I knew you would be.
I built them into the interim because I knew I had to come up with something. So, if there's another idea, I'm open to it. We decided to get away from flags, which were added into the resolutions, which I thought was sort of an idea in the beginning. I thought flags were dangerous, and they also are obstructive. With our sight lines on the water and stuff. So we just never went with the flags. We wanted something low to the ground. So there might be something else out there, like a rubber ball that we can put into the sand or something. So we'll look more into it.
I mean, just spitballing things here. For instance, like at Wade's Beach, they have that carpet that rolls down for wheelchairs.
Moby Matt.
Yeah, Moby mat, and then you just roll it up at night. I don't know,
It was interesting. I mean, we kind of thought of that when we were talking about the runway originally. It was just like, well, there's that mat, but it's obviously a little more industrial than approach when we were going. Venture Out has always tried to stay sort of like, we're not trying to jump the beach up or, create, like logo the beach up or flail the arms guy. Like we never really wanted to do that. So we try to do things as low key as possible. So we thought, what is beachy? Rope, but rope someone can trip or, so we think about a lot of things before we do it. We're not just, so yes, something like that or something like that would be.
Thank you for thinking about the alternatives.
Oh, absolutely. I've been racking my brain for the past couple weeks, trust me. So if anything, we're open to it, 100%.
Matt, I'm having trouble getting past when you first came in, to discuss this.
Sure.
I mean, we had extensive conversation about a 400 square foot area.
Yes.
In one location, and you didn't do that.
Well,
You did what you usually did. You put all the boats down by the water. We said 400 square feet. And you didn't do that.
We've always had the boats by the front of the water's edge for 13 years.
We had extensive discussion about this, that we didn't want a whole section of the beach
But we
taken up by your operation.
we don't
That
have a
was-
whole section.
I'm not gonna argue.
No, I'm not.
We talked about the 400 square feet extensively.
We operate at 400 square
You're
feet.
talking about the resolution, which you didn't know. We talked about that a lot.
We did the math, we did the square footage, anything that touches the sand, we're at 406 square feet. We just need, obviously, we put things in the water, we need a staging area up front. And everything else operates at the bulkhead. It's how we've always done it. You know, we are willing to come in a little bit with the shed, that is not a problem.
So you still want all the kayaks and paddleboards down by the shoreline?
It seems like a lot more than it is, but if you look at, there's some more drone shots that I have in my packet. It's a speck on the beach.
You're taking up a whole section of the beach.
We're not.
And people are intimidated to go
We think of it
in
as
and set.
providing a service to visitors on the island that are coming to the island to paddle and to kayak. And we're not taking up the beach, we are providing a service.
Matt, I have a suggestion.
Sure.
Because when the paddle boards are up against the board, it
Correct.
looks like a very large expanse of paddle boards,
Correct.
right? So I'm wondering if there's a way that you could do a rack so that they're all horizontal. I'll show you a picture of what I was just thinking of. Christina, may I share?
We've been double stacking them, so they kind of come in a little bit more.
I know part of your concern was being able to let them dry out and stuff, so I was
It is a
thinking
huge concern.
something similar to this, where you could have them stacked on their
We have them
side.
tall, and
Right.
we could put poles out so they can go that way, but then there would have to be something attached to the white rail.
No, so these are like flat horizontally stacked on the side. So if you do like a side rack like this, they can sit in the beach, then they're not up on the rail. They'll dry because you can get air between them and it can drip onto the lawn, but it's not gonna be a visual, like you're taking up and making a wall across the board.
I mean, I'm open to those suggestions as well.
I'm just trying to think of ways to visually bring down your operation instead of, when you drive past and there's a wall of paddle boards against the rail, it's a lot. And then I also see people kind of trying to dodge around them when they're leaning over.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't think-
And also, at the end of the day, it's photography central. It's where everyone is walking by and it's just nothing but selfie central over there. And it's been sad that when we changed to this new setup, everyone just walks by now. No one's snapping selfies anymore. So, but yes, I mean, a rack setup, we just, we need approval to do something with.
Right, because we give you the space for it, something just to try to help consolidate things. So then maybe you wouldn't need as many like laid out across because you can consolidate them to a smaller space, or, maybe not as many out by the beach. It'd be easier to put them all in the rack and then slide them out. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of ways to help.
I know, and
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. It's just, we've always looked at it as the white rails, free rack. It's just there,
Mhm.
and we came up with the idea to consolidate everything by double stacking the boards.
Right,
But there does come a time where, the boards come in and out of the water and they're fully rigged. So there is this process. Paddleboards are rigged. They need a fin put on, they need a life jacket put on, they need a leash put on. And that does actually take time to take on and off. But the deck pads need to dry or else they actually they'll smell and whatnot if they're not dried from day to day. So the bake in the sun for a little while is actually very important to our business. So, whether they're vertical racks or they're laying down, at least they do get time to breathe, which would be great. having them just the way we have them now, where they're 8 stacked out and 8 stacked out, it's just not, they're just not getting
That's why I was trying to think of
a
it,
little bit
an
of breath.
alternative,
Yes.
stacking vertically if you have them
I
horizontally.
mean, I'm open to it. It's also another piece of equipment that might need to be
Yeah.
either installed or put on the ground, which I'm open to, so.
I mean, I figure you could leave it there and then maybe slide it up against the bulkhead at the end of the day or something.
Attach
Like
it to
you do
something. I'm open to that as well, 100%.
Yeah, because when I was doing the calculations, it's like, all right, you've got 28 feet for the paddle boards, 14 feet for the life jackets, 10 feet for the tent, and then 6 feet for the storage box. So you're taking 58 feet of expanse, whereas other businesses on town property are 20 feet. So it's like 3 times the length. So I like that idea of trying to condense it down a bit more.
I mean, I'm all for, I said I pulled the box in or whatnot. The problem is we operate on the beach. The beach this season, it's 60 feet to high tide. I mean, there's a photo in my packet where you can look, it's a little bit shorter in previous seasons. But when the law added in 20 feet, it just wipes my business out. Like I'm just wiped out totally. Obviously, a food truck can operate in 20 by 20. Ride Shore operates in the water. The massage tent operates inside of his tent, but we do not. We are a different business. We operate where we have dry storage and wet storage of equipment that gets moved in and out of the water constantly. And, so we're not asking for more than 400 square feet. We're asking for, basically, it's obvious that we cannot comply to 20 feet if it's 60 feet to the water.
Chief, are you still there?
Yes.
On the resolution, it basically says the business shall be contained in a 400 square foot area established at the beginning of the season, designated by 2 flags. Was that done?
Right, so, and Councilman Gooding, you bring up a good point. In looking internally at our setup, we didn't do a good job of establishing his clear demarcation. It's gonna be difficult for us to enforce without clear demarcations. I'm probably in alignment with Councilman Dixon, where we did have a robust conversation at that time, and I think that going forward, however the board chooses to go, we should go down and tell our businesses, this is your space to operate. If you can operate in that, fine, and if you can't, then so be it. But I think that we need to get back to that point. I appreciate Matty's been down there for a long time, but I do think he can operate within a clear demarcation that says this is where you can operate.
We had a long conversation over this at the beginning of back in April, okay, about the waterfront. And I think we even got into the fact that when people are walking along the shorefront, how boats may interfere with it. And it wasn't as big an issue. It would be 1 or 2 boats. This really is expanding on the beach, okay? And when you have even a designated walkway, creates another issue. I think that rather than having these plastic garden things, even a small red cone or something would probably be a whole lot safer so no one trips and stumbles over it. But that, I think that was the way the resolution was for 400 square feet, okay? And as much as I appreciate the issues you're having, and obviously you've expanded, okay? And I think that,
I objected to the boats down by the shoreline.
right,
I was very clear on that you would be up by the rail, because you're taking up a whole chunk of beach to intimidate people from walking through.
We're trying not to intimidate
I know,
anybody. We're trying
but
to.
just the fact that you're set up like that does that, and that was my objection. No boats down in the water. And here you got them here.
Albert, would you be okay if you could get Matt to move everything up towards the bulkhead but still have that corridor marked to move things and launch boats, but not keep any down there.
I,
You're talking about the 400 square feet up at the bulkhead, up at the street?
Yeah.
Yes, and actually, all you,
But also
you're putting the
the
cones
runway.
basically for the safety of the people,
Yeah.
okay? And it's like a walkway, it could, it's really for this, it serves us well because it's safety for our people knowing that this stuff that's gonna be dragged and moved back and forth, but I think the real issue is at the waterfront, at the water's edge. Tie up the whole water edge.
Got it.
The only caveat I would put in there, listening to Matt, is when he does have a group going out, he does need to get the boat staged. So temporarily, before a group goes.
Well, I think that's okay.
Okay, yeah, I just want to be clear with that.
Well, I mean, staging it, and that's what it's for. So to put someone into a kayak or to put multiple people into something. The thing is with Venture Out, the way we've streamlined, one person can run this business. The way that it's set up now, after we had to make these changes, one person cannot run this business. It is 2 employees that need to run this business, or 2 staff members. It's just, there's too little space to move stuff around where you don't have this staging area to walk people over. Everything needs to be rigged, everything needs to be moved, rather than having this area where things are all ready to go. Having to rig things immediately for each individual person is just, it's just gonna take up too much time. That's what this area is for,
How long are the fins on the bottom of the paddle?
10 inches.
10 inches.
We use a longer fin, the standard fin is about 8 or 9 inches. We use a 10-inch fin, which gives you more balance out on the water.
Because I was just thinking, if you have them in a horizontal rack, you can actually stagger them. So you can have them facing different directions with the fins coming on either side, and you might be able to get enough space where you don't have to break them down every time,
Yeah.
but still get them to dry. I'm just,
Yeah, I know, it's just the height. I'm not worried about it when it's slow like this, but I'm worried about it when it gets busy, and that's when bad things happen. And it's, that's anything out on the water, when everything is rushed, bad things happen. I'm just trying to be safety first and fun second.
right, that's what I was just thinking, if you don't have to break them down every time, then you don't have to put them back together every time, so there's less error.
When we get busy and when August rolls around, things are like literally in and out of the water. And it's, that staging area is just extremely important to us. I mean, it's where else are you gonna put all that gear? It's just gonna,
I don't think anybody's complaining about the staging area when you have people there and you're getting them ready and you're explaining to them what they can and can't do on the water. I think the concern, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that that you have them made up and are just sitting there waiting for someone to come by to rent.
correct.
Is that what your
That's
concerns
right.
were?
Yeah.
But I mean, it also does, A, it helps with business, B, it has the equipment ready to go. And when you are working alone, it's tough to rig all that stuff up if you've got people waiting and whatnot, if the equipment is ready to go. So it does allow us to have stuff ready to rock.
What's the board want to do?
I'd like to, what I'm concerned about is the other vendors. I think the chief brings up a good point that we have other vendors on the beach. And we deviate if this had come up when the application, when we were talking about it, and we really did spend a lot of time talking about it, we probably wouldn't have been here right now, okay? I don't remember ever these things being staged down at the beach as they are currently, okay? And I know it's a little inconvenient, but I think that, I think we should, I think the runway thing, I think that's not a problem. I think having those boats taking up more of the beach area, I think that is a problem. And if it's a little inconvenient, okay, that's part of doing business. Things are not always easy, okay? And
Dealt with this for, how do you feel about
Well, I was gonna say, I thought the original package did have staging down on the water.
We've been using that site map since 2016.
well, staging is different than being present there.
And we're not saying,
Staging is for being at that, yeah.
Amber, I think the confusion came to what the applicant asked for and what the board approved. And just because it was asked for doesn't mean it was approved.
Mhm.
So what was approved was a 20 by 20 area. And for us, it's real easy. We put two markers on the rail up there and we can measure out 20 feet from those two markers and you keep your operation within that area. And that makes it easier for us on the enforcement side when we're going down. Look, we don't ever want to write anybody a ticket down there. We've been working with Matt for many years. He's been a good participant with us. And we went down and talked to him, Matt. We probably spent an hour with you on the beach the other day and asked you to come back into compliance so that we could come forward to this meeting. So that's all we want is compliance, but we need clear demarcations. You know what I mean? We can't get into this thing of, well, so when we conclude this, that I really just want to be clear that the resolution that was in place stands with maybe one slight amendment for this runway, so to speak, or we have a new resolution because it can get too convoluted. And Matt walks away, and Matt, to your credit, thinking that what you presented was what was agreed upon when it wasn't. We have a resolution that says what the parameters are. Sorry.
Well, I just want to be able to clearly marker out exactly, because right now what I'm looking at spans 58 feet along the back wall. So
We put markers down there. There's red spray paint, orange spray paint on the fence now that delineates 20 feet wide. Comes straight out from those points, and we put two flags in the sand that show 20 by 20. Very clearly. Matt's aware of it. He was with us. He was a part of it.
If right now, I think containing the operation in 20 by 20 but also giving him this runway, which will be very helpful for his business, but also to the people trying to use the beach, I think is the way to go.
Well, we're not really giving him anything. We're basically demarking from a safety point of view that he doesn't have to go around people. It's a walkway.
How far are you extending that runway from the area, the 20 by 20 area down, away from that? How far do you envision extending that runway?
I mean, we haven't.
And stay within the 400 square feet?
Excuse me?
And stay within the parameters of the 400 square feet with that runway?
I mean, well, if I don't have the staging area, the math all changes. Because I'm using 240 square feet with that staging area. So then I would sacrifice it for the runway. What's happening is the original beach commerce law that was created, I thought, to protect us. And then about 4 years ago, it turned into an application. And then this 400 square feet thing magically appeared into an application. Venture Out has operated the exact same way it has on that beach for 13 years. You can go on my Instagram and you can see it. Nothing's changed. So we're trying to actually become smaller to comply with the town, and we're trying to become transparent. That staging area is extremely important to our business. The runway, we'll go as skinny as possible. It's whatever the math is, whatever it is the high tide.
You want the runway to extend down to the water's edge?
Well, I mean, no, whatever it would be to however far it needs to go.
In terms of being part of the 400 square feet, that's my question.
I mean, in the past, there wasn't one there anyway. We're just trying to add it as a safety thing and also as to let beachgoers know that this is sort of our business stops here. You guys can put a tent right up in front of our tent, and we just need this little path going to the water.
I'm not concerned that the runway
yeah, because
is
that's
part of the 400. I don't care.
Yeah, at high tide, that's going to be 50 feet, because if it's 60 feet to the rail, take out 10 feet for the tent, that's 50 feet. And if it's 6 feet wide of a path, that's 300 square feet. And low tide at 70 feet by 6 feet, that's 420 square feet. So that would utilize the entire 20 by 20.
Not too bad. It's serving both of us, serving them and serving us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's all part of the calculation.
I don't think the walkway needs to be counted in the square.
yeah, because I
footage.
thought part of what we were trying to accomplish is just to make sure that public access along the entire beach is unbroken. And so if that remains open, except for when there's a boat going, it sounds like that will be open.
And when you're launching and retrieving, you can have boats down here, just can't leave them there. Just have to launch, they go paddle around, they're gone. When they get back, you retrieve it and you bring it back up to the top.
It's said so simply. It's, you know,
I know,
you come down and see us on a busy day.
I know, and it means it's good, you're gonna have, one person can't do it, you need two people.
Well, we can't, you know,
That's
uh,
kind of how it works.
uh,
That is, as I said, the cost
What
of
we're
the
talking
business.
about is the 400 square feet up at the, not 60 feet creep that's been at the fence side,
Yeah.
okay? And cleaning up that deep down by the water is basically a staging area where you launch from and people are coming right away, or one boat or two boat, not a big deal, but if you put, 10 boats down there, you really, you've expanded. And that conversation we had at Lent, okay, in the spring. Okay, and that was really clear that that was not an acceptable thing. We talked about that, and it was never presented that the boats were going to be sitting there waiting for the clients to come take the boat out. So it really is conforming, I think, to the 400 square feet up at the street level. The pathway, it doesn't even have to be 5 feet, it can be 4 feet or whatever, but you can delineate it. I don't think it should be counted part of your square feet, okay, but I think down by the water, I think it's just a staging area. It's not where you're going to keep 10 boats. So you're really talking about, tightening up at the street level and basically cleaning up down by the water. Yes, it is, it's a little more.
Put in and take out and put away.
Right.
Whether it takes two individuals to do that or what, that's something you have to figure out.
yeah, no, it's not gonna happen, so.
Are you saying you want it to remain 20 by 20, or could it be 40 by 10?
That's what I was just gonna say, because I was gonna say, I think you need more area up by the top if that's gonna be what he's doing.
We can't operate. in a
40 by
box.
10
We
is,
just can't. We can't be in a square. It's just not possible. And I can guarantee, the way we operate isn't like a T shape. It's just how we need to operate. And by letting us do that, I can guarantee the massage business is not gonna be like, well, he operates like a T, I wanna operate like a T. Or Rod Shore is not gonna change their business because we are. We've been doing the same thing together for
Well, the
decades.
T-shape is what we're trying to give you.
Yes, I know, but that's what I'm saying. So that's what we're trying to explain. We cannot be a box.
No, but I think what Meg is getting at is you need a different shape for the top of the T.
instead of 20 by 20, which is obviously a square, which doesn't work for you because right now you're sprawling. The goal, I think I'm hearing from the board, is to condense your sprawl into a designated zone. So if we do 40 feet wide by 10 feet deep, because your tent is 10 feet deep, you don't really do anything in front of that area except have the kayaks in the water. So if we give you 40 feet wide, 10 feet deep to store and stage all your gear, then that's
And
sort of like what
with
you've
the
got
runway.
here, but a little more condensed. So you might have to stack some of these,
Yeah.
but at least then, and with the runway, so you have, a clear path to the water and people don't stage there, then that might be a way to configure your 400 feet that work for you.
Yeah,
It's when it's sprawled all the way down the beach, like 60 feet is, I think, some of the math we saw. It just gets to be a lot for people. But if you could bring it in to, let's say, 40 feet wide, 10 feet deep, because that's the width of your tent, none of your stuff really sticks out beyond that, except for the stuff you've got in the water.
And the only problem with that, when you extend 40 feet, okay, you're really elongating the usage, what's in front of it, how do you get to the water? Okay, right now, when you have a 20 by 20 space, okay, you sort of have a limited frontage going to the water.
Right now, he's using 60 feet.
I know that.
Bring it in, that brings it in, and then you
We
have.
know we have to bring it in,
But if you
okay?
have, if you have a designated runway space, then that's where the boats would come over and then go down the runway.
Right.
Over and down the runway. So now you have a designated launching area, so you're not gonna drag from here straight out to the water all the time. You have a zone.
The designated area is 5 feet, and you got a 40-foot frontage on the street,
Mhm.
okay? They're not gonna drag it through the 10-foot area to come down the 5-foot row, okay? They're gonna be basically coming, really gonna have more space in front to drag it to the 4-foot pace, so you're really increasing it. And I think from the chief's point of view, it makes it easier, because that's how we've been operating with that type of space. It's easier to enforce.
I would recommend a 40 by 10. But it sounds like 20 by 20 is what the two of you are recommending.
And would you, another vendor came along and said, I don't really need 10 feet. I really only need 5 feet. Would you modify that as well?
I think it's on
So
a
each and
case,
every one would be individually looked at.
I think on a case-by-case basis, because each business operates differently. There's no, like, the bond spa, bond spa model doesn't fit Ventura and vice versa.
So the other thing is that the path doesn't have to be in the middle of the space. So if this is 40 by 10, and you have the kayak stored here, you make your runway there. You make it in front of where the kayaks are stored, so you would just,
Right of the.
yeah, it doesn't have to be
So it doesn't-
centered.
Yeah, so it
You
doesn't
can just,
bifurcate, yeah.
right, you just make it where logically you would walk, just like you hope people put sidewalks where people want to walk. Do the same thing with the runway, so that it just goes directly from where you're storing the boats to where they go in the water.
Make it 30 by 13. Just kidding.
Sure. Get weird with it. Just trying to come up with a solution that works, if it's within the currently approved resolution. It's just-
I think your approach is, I like that approach. 40 by 10 or 30 by 13, whatever it is, with the path down to the beach. I mean, the runway, situated where it best works. I don't think that's a problem.
I just want to be ultra clear with the applicant, so there's no confusion. I don't want one person walking away with it. We need very clear parameters that we can operate under, because it doesn't work otherwise.
And your officers.
We should mark the location and mark where the runway should be.
And yeah, I want to get to a point where we put this into resolution.
Yep, so do I.
So
Well,
that's
let's
why I
ask
say
you
40
this.
by 10.
Does 40 by 10 work better than 30 by 13? I feel silly asking that question.
I mean, what I really need is I need a little waterfront, and that's,
Well, that's gonna be hard.
I take.
Well, no, you have a little waterfront.
At the beach every day, and if you drive down there right now, I guarantee 80% of that waterfront is empty right now.
Well, it's Tuesday afternoon. yeah.
Still, I should be open right now, but I'm here. So, that waterfront is important. It's important for our clients to see the equipment. It's important for us to provide lessons. It's important for us to provide, our, what we call like our water safety, our do's and don'ts, or where to go, where not to go. And it's important for us to have that area for stuff to come in safely. If there's just a 4-foot wide path, when, let me tell you, everyone comes in at the same time. If there's 10 boats in the water, everything comes in at once. So if there's no sand to properly allow this to happen, it's gonna.
We are, just to repeat, we are saying that launching and retrieving is something different.
I know, I know how difficult it's gonna become if without some sort of area that is designated at the front of the shoreline more than 4 feet wide. It's just, it's not a lot of space.
I mean, when they come in, and you put them where they come in. but then you quickly use the runway to get them up to the bulkhead. Or as fast as practicable.
I agree, easier said than done. You know?
Yeah, no, believe me,
Yeah.
I know something about retrieving boats from the water.
I agree. That's why I shed 20 pounds every summer. So, you know, it's in and out. But I'm just trying to always do everything safer.
So what do you guys want to do?
So let me ask you, Matt, so you're saying that you'd still need to stage boats down by the water?
I would really like to. I mean, that's why I'm here. It's kind of how we've done it. My thought process and how we do this. I mean, we've definitely, over the time I've owned this business, we've hammered out, you know, all the issues, details, you know.
You take up a chunk of beach.
It's
You
20
take up a
feet.
chunk of beach, that's, you know, I don't need to
It's
stay
20
anymore.
feet by
The
12
boats,
feet.
boats don't work for me down by the water.
Okay.
What do we want to do?
Well, I'm hearing that there's 400 feet available up by the bulkhead, whatever shape it is. And Matt can make it whatever shape he wants.
We just
And
did
then,
one square.
yeah, just whatever you want, 400 square feet, however you want to shape it. And then we're also providing a 4 or 5 foot wide runway down to the water to launch and retrieve boats. And when the retrieving or launching boats, they could be down on the bottom of the beach for a few minutes. That's okay. You just can't be sitting there all day as an advertisement for his business.
I would like to, like with that 400 square feet, let you work with PD and Highway to figure out exactly what that configuration looks like. And then we can put that into the resolution. So if it's 40 by 10, 30 by 13, however that works out, so that you have some flexibility to figure out how you're going to stage up the rail.
All right, and I've still have no water access except for 4 feet wide.
No, that's not what we're saying. There's a 4 foot or 5 foot wide runway down to the beach. You just can't lead boats down there all day. You can launch them, you can retrieve them, but when they're retrieved, they need to go up top as soon as practicable. At least that's what I'm hearing in my ear.
Yes. Yeah. So you do have staging, it's just short-term staging.
That's a good way to say it.
And Amber, just to be clear, that we're talking about 400 square feet in one spot, not separate. Very clear on that.
Contiguous.
Contiguous.
And the runway, wherever it goes, is just a gimme.
Right.
Get a free runway.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I would like to clarify that too. Once he clears up the square, whatever square rectangle, that we say, here's the runway, and we're very clear on our intentions. We set the parameters.
And if you want it arms length, that's 5 feet.
Okay,
For me, it's 6.
please, board, yeah, please, town board, tell us the width of the runway.
Okay.
5 feet.
Thank you.
And I would like the runway to be off-center,
In
So
front
that
of wherever the.
wherever the paddleboard are being stored. So that it doesn't bifurcate the entire section, the back section.
I would like to see them in some kind of rack so they're not up against the rail.
I agree. Forgot about that point. That's a good point.
Just, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I think you're gonna fit more in that smaller space if you have them in some kind of rack.
Can you work with PD and Highway this week? Because we have a board meeting on Monday. So that we can come up with the parameters for the resolution to be able to implement this at Monday's town board meeting.
You can find time probably this week.
Chief,
I couldn't hear what he said.
he can find time this week.
No problem. So we'll have that done before Friday. So this way, Matt, you're going into the weekend with clearer parameters, and it'll be adopted on Monday.
Any other comments from the public?
I would just like to state that my resolution states what you guys just all decided. So nothing's changed. Basically,
Well, what's changed is we're going to
give us a run.
delineate what the 400 square feet is
Correct.
and to give you a runway.
Okay.
That's what's changed.
Which doesn't count towards the 400 square feet.
Yes, right. The rack, Meg's rack.
Well, I'm not gonna require the racks, that's something you have to find, but think about kind of some kind of storage rack for next year to help keep everything consolidated.
Next year, it's 15-year run. I don't think we're coming back next year, so. Thank you, guys, appreciate it much. I'm sorry we couldn't come to a conclusion, but we'll finish out the summer this year. And, that's all. I'll speak with Chief Reed again, and make sure that happens.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is 7 Cheapwood Avenue, the 100 square foot exemption. And Reed is here. So we're starting off with you because the building department is the one who investigates and lets the town board know whether or not the 100 square foot exemption has been utilized previously before we adopt the resolution, the granting of it so that it is memorialized someplace.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts in this one. I don't know if you read my email. Yeah, I mean, I looked in the file and there was no reference to the 100 square foot exemption. Usually, there would be a note on the file folder, and if, for whatever permit was granted for the work that would have been counted as the 100 square foot exemption, that would have been noted on the permit and on the C of O. So I didn't find anything, so I looked into it and I figured what had happened turned out to be, more or less what had happened. That there was if you look at the permit that Billy and Mary granted in 2007, there's a big renovation and a bunch of work outside. And the interesting thing is that took place right after the 100 square foot exemption was passed.
Right after.
Right after, yeah. I think they were actually planning it while that was going on. So what was determined, I spoke to Mary Wilson about it, and she said that this is in fact what happened. They traded basically a remediation. They gave, what was it, like 222 square feet or something of patio back. And they they pulled it out of the wetlands. And then they got some, 3 items in trade. One was, there's like a stoop on the water side of the house. I have all the square footages on here. There was the stoop was about 36 square feet. This is all just scaling off the surveys and the site plans. There was a new porch roof over an existing wood deck. There were 2 AC compressors that were put all in the regulated areas. And Mary said that was deemed a trade, and so that's why they didn't even get into the issue of the 100 square foot exemption. Now it's confusing when you look at it today. If you look at and I think this is where some people got confused. The mean high water there has changed a lot over the years. And after Sandy, I believe this is correct. If you look at the surveys and also the GIS aerial views, you can see that mean high tide came up and therefore closer to the bulkhead. And so that's why if you look at some of the site plans that are more recent, it appears that the patio must have grown and encroached into the wetlands. That's not the case. The wetlands has actually come landward a couple feet. So that's, I think, what the confusion.
But is that a difference?
Well, it doesn't matter because you don't retroactively require someone to get a wetlands permit when nature changes the game. And the house and the pool were there before either required a permit. They both have certificates of compliance. This, by the way, is the one thing that I like about this is it supports my view that we shouldn't be horse trading, square footages, and two, that it really needs to be memorialized, that it can't just be something that's handed out casually by if you're gonna do 100 square foot exemption, it needs to be formally documented like this, so that everybody can lay out exactly what the conditions are and what the terms are. I think that's about it.
So
Go ahead, Meg.
I was just gonna say, so bottom line is they have not used the 100 square foot exemption.
No, they have not used it.
Okay. But, okay.
They have.
The trade-off.
No, but it was deemed that was not the exemption. It was, this is what was determined at the time, that it was a trade, because it was a net, it was a net loss of patio in the, of square footage in the regulated area. Right? You gotta remember, this was a while ago, and things were done a lot more casually. I heard, I don't know. I tried calling Mary again for clarification yesterday of, a couple questions that I had, but she was actually in the hospital yesterday. She's had some serious health issues. She said she'd, get back to me. But yeah, she verified that, it was determined. I think she kicked it upstairs, and I'm not sure if it was Al Kilb or who it was. They sort of determined that, they're actually they're giving back, it's a net improvement, so they don't need a wetlands permit. This was 2007.
What were your open questions with Mary?
Well, I just wanted to know how, in other words, exactly that. Did you, was it determined just by the building department, or did you discuss it with people? Because I've heard a bunch of different things. I don't know. And if you look at it's pretty clear if you look. This area has always been fugitive, and the wetlands boundaries here changes a lot just because the nature down there. And it's interesting. The other thing that I've sort of discovered recently, because I've gone with a couple people to watch them stake wetlands. The DEC I went with, and I went with Teresa Mason a couple times now, and one time she actually staked the wetlands. This is not something that one measures in inches. There is a wide margin of error, I would say, to this. And it's one reason I think that if you look at surveys with state wetlands by two different surveyors around the same time, there are often significant discrepancies. Go down to the beach and see if you can figure out where mean high tide is within a couple feet. Did you have any other questions, or? I sent all the surveys, but unfortunately I was not able to, because I don't have the right software, I wasn't able to change the names on the PDFs so that it was clear what year they were. I brought them in if you want to look too.
Read the pool patio that was in the wetlands, or was going to be in the wetlands is not there now
If you look,
from 2007?
they cut a couple feet off of it. Here, I can show you.
In the exchange.
Yeah, in the exchange, they removed, which is this? Okay, that's the original. Let me find the last one. I can pass these. The one, this is what was.
This is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, this is what was there before. This is 1999. If you look up at the dates, this is 1999, and you can see it's got a pretty wide section of pool patio there. After they did the work, you can see that it's narrower. They cut, they cut a section back. I drew this line here when I was sort of calculating the feet. And the other thing that seems to be confusing is, and I was a little confused by it at first, the permit says specifically patio must be kept 100 feet from the mean high water. And I checked with Mary on this. That wasn't referring to the patio because the patio was already in existence and was already in the wetlands. It was referring to this patio, not the pool patio, the dining patio.
Okay.
So that, and it was in fact kept over 100 feet from the wetlands.
She had no recollection of this trade-off being also in exchange for the 100-foot exemption.
Yeah, no, she said it was not. It was not part of the exemption. If you look on the thing I said, I can't remember the numbers, but you can see very clearly what the square footages in the wetlands were, and they were significantly diminished as part of that. I talked to Pam about it, and I was going through with her, and it's hard to tell if you just look at the GIS photos.
Right.
But if you look at the surveys, you can see what happened. You kind of want to get them in order. And if you look, it's interesting. If you look at the site plan that Ian McDonald did, that's, what's it dated? 2022. It's for a recent application. The 100-foot wetlands from that survey is actually in the pool. It's moved. That's the site plan that has the 100-foot, the furthest landward. I included a bunch of surveys so you could see how much it's changed. There's one survey that I included. It's the 2007 existing with proposed, and you can see where they're cutting back the concrete patio. They actually, I think they elongated it, but it says on it, I highlighted the note. Existing patio encroachment into 100 square feet setback is 248 square feet. Proposed encroachment is reduced to 22 square feet, which is that sliver that's left seaward of the 100-foot.
So the 22 and the 36 too are listed in the wetlands area.
This is the
22 foot and then the stoop.
Yeah, this is the old patio around here, the deck.
When were the AC units installed?
They were, and it's interesting, they were actually not on the proposed plan, but they appeared in the as-built.
So these were put in 2007? The
Which?
AC units?
Yeah, yeah,
And the roof over the deck?
yeah, and that was all approved.
Isn't that constitute 100 square feet of wetlands intrusion?
Well, that's not for me to, now it would be, it would come to somebody to talk to, but at the time, they just worked it out that because they reduced things by, what is it, 220?
But now we're learning that
22.
there's 22 square feet of pool patio, 36 square feet of stoop, and a roof over the deck,
No, but
two
they,
AC units.
but they removed this much of, this, the idea was that they were trading all this patio for these items. And they came out ahead, so they determined that they didn't need a wet permit. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's the way they did things.
I guess I'd like to see the measurements of those items that,
It's all in
They
this,
traded.
you can follow it with a survey.
okay.
I mean, I'm glad to walk you through it. but
Yeah, okay.
probably-
I mean, the other question that I have, does any of the pool patio have to be demoed to accommodate the new accessory structure?
No, it does not. The original application, when they were going to intrude, I don't know if this is it, they were going to cut into the pool patio. They've changed it, so they are not removing any of the pool patio. That's my understanding anyway.
And they still obviously meet the setback, side yard
Yeah.
setback?
Yeah, just barely. I mean, it's a very challenging lot, obviously.
I mean, the other thing, I don't see the dimensions of the porch.
Well, this is, we're not, in other words, I wasn't addressing that here. That's a separate issue, which I'm glad to talk to you about.
In the roof deck, I mean, I like, above it.
Right.
I mean, I'd like to see those dimensions. I mean, I'm here, that it's listed
I'm
99 and a half.
I'm just here today to explain what happened.
Okay, all right.
Because,
So
I
you
mean, that
can-
was my
You can
understanding.
show me that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right. And there's elevation drawings on the roof? Okay, I'd like to see them.
The side yard setback's 20 feet?
That was on there. You can see on this one site plan that Al has, yeah, here you can see it too.
It has 2 inches.
It's 20 feet for for accessory, side yard setback. I looked at the application for the 100 square feet, when I wrote my reference letter, and it seemed to be 99.5 square feet.
So Reed, the patio to the north, okay, that is there on the pool, around the pool? Right here?
There used to be, here, I'll show you. This is what was existing,
Right,
and pretty much all of that
it's gone,
was in this, it was in the,
right.
not quite, but I was figuring out square
This has
footage.
been removed.
Here's what was there before, actually, you can see it here. And,
That was removed.
yeah, they removed like 222, 26 square.
48 removed, 200.
And then, yeah, reduce it, yeah. So it's like 226 square feet that they removed. And then they used whatever my calculations are, like, they swapped, and this is just, this was,
I know,
this is the way things were done. And they put a roof over this. I don't know who she spoke to about it yet. I knew that was going to be a question. I don't believe the decision was made unilaterally. Was Al killed the supervisor in 2004? So that would kind of track with
No, 2004.
the sort of way of dealing with things.
this section has been removed.
Yeah, you see how this is
Right, I see,
wider?
right.
2007.
So it went from this to this. This is the as-built.
But there's still over 100 square feet of stuff in the regulated area.
No, there's not. There's under. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. There's 22 plus. 58 total. Seems like it's more.
22 plus 30.
I just approximated these because I haven't, it's not called out. What have we got?
Yeah, 36 for the new stew,
36 for the new stew.
54 for the porch roof.
Yeah, for the porch roof, and that's a moot, I mean, that would be counted today as a bulk intrusion. I don't know if they even considered it that, because I think the idea, and that's another thing. This 100 square feet is always counted just as a footprint, and they don't address, they've never addressed,
Second floor.
bulk intrusions. So basically, this was traded for this, and the roof over the existing deck and shower.
And how much is left over in the regulated area today before this?
How much intrusion?
Yeah.
Well, some of the houses.
Yeah.
But that was all pre-existing. The pool was pre-existing. It's an older pool. This was, obviously this is a property that was developed. early.
Reed, when you trade this for this, it's equal.
No, it's not equal. It's a net.
It's a net right here, right, of the 248.
246 was what they gave up.
22 and 36, and 22 and 36, okay. So it's 100, that was decreased by 190.
Yeah, well, I would argue that it's actually decreased by less than that because of
Right, because
these
of
two
those.
things.
Yeah, I said 118.
I think that, back then, they didn't seem to pay, you didn't even need a permit back then for
Air conditioning.
air conditioners, and I think half the time they put them wherever they wanted to. It wasn't somehow considered a.
You're saying back then, Reed, but I mean, the items are still in the wetlands boundary as it existed in 2007.
What do you mean,
The intrusion, the stoop.
yeah, but
22
this was
square
all,
feet,
I don't know, all I'm saying is that
the AC unit.
this was deemed kosher by the building department in concert with,
Trade.
people as a trade. When Al Kilb was here, the idea was to streamline processes. It was just a different time here. And, they would come to agreements about things if, it was deemed a practical solution. And I think he
We don't
felt,
know that, really.
Well, there's
How
no
do you mean?
documentation for anything, right? Trade-off.
well, there's a permit
Yeah.
that Gate allowed them to do it. There was, we have it on the institutional memory of,
Yeah, okay, that's true.
I can ask her to write something
No
up.
notes on the plan sheet or whatever, or the permit or anything that they're saying that they allowed this to happen?
Well, they gave him a
Building department?
permit, they gave him a permit
But there were
without,
no notes on anything.
not that I saw, no. I haven't asked Billy about it because they're both in rough shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him at the post office the other day.
And this is why I wanted to formalize the process last year.
And this is why I've been after, that
Yeah.
it has to be.
And we have formalized the process
Yes.
now, thank God. Okay,
Yes.
good.
It's also, and the other thing, I was kicking and screaming, I was trying to get the 100 square foot to be just a one-time thing, which I know Ian hates the idea of, but it's impossible to keep track of this.
Synopsis, yeah.
I mean, it all becomes this horse trading that I waste a lot of time on this. And I'll keep these all out, so if anybody wants to come over and go over them,
Yeah, no, I like.
figure that that's it. And we can also talk about the new 100 square foot exemption.
Or lack
Or
thereof,
elimination.
Less.
or lack thereof in the future.
Well, yeah, we're kind of working on that. That's it.
So if we agree to this, it's gonna look like this. And if we take out 100 square feet, where does it come from?
Well, it's
Well,
the,
are you looking at the old plan or the new
Actually, I'm
one?
looking at the old,
Yeah, I was gonna say, that doesn't look right.
yeah.
The new one's completely within the setbacks.
Yeah, we issued a permit for the structure that was entirely out of the regulated area. then
I don't think we have a copy of that.
a separate permit was applied for
It's an additional covered porch in the house.
It's addition of a covered porch with roof deck, 9 to 9.5 feet. Are there any other questions for Reed from the table before I open it up to the public?
So the 100-foot setback line is now moved landward
Yeah, you
due to
can
the,
see
due
that.
to the weather, due to climate change and sea level rise. Okay,
You can see it here. Here's where, and this is why, like Pam, I think, had thought that they had constructed, I spoke to her. She had thought that they had constructed new pool patio because there seemed to be pool patio now in the 100-foot. What's happened is the 100-foot has moved back to where the pool is.
so does this constitute a new application in that sense, that it's here now? A new 100-foot exemption?
Yes, that's what they're applying for.
But isn't the pool patio now in the 100-foot?
No, but that's in other words, you can't retroactively require a 100-square-foot exemption because nature
Where
changed
does it
up.
say, it says that? Where does it say that?
Well, maybe,
I don't know.
because
I don't know.
clearly, how would you would have so many non-conforming structures.
But this is new
Oh,
development.
yes,
This is new development.
this would count as the 100-square-foot. What I'm saying is that the pool patio, just because I don't
No,
see
this
that.
is a new 100-foot exemption.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
But you were talking about the pool patio.
yeah, I'm just talking about that now a lot of the pool patio is in the wetlands. And
Yeah.
now this is a new application
Yeah.
for a 100-foot exemption.
Well, it's not, yeah. But that's of right. You don't approve a 100-square-foot exemption. It's of right. You just log it.
But
The question is
we're
whether
already
they
seeing
use it.
other intrusions into the wetlands, structure in the wetlands that exists.
But these are not things that would have required a 100-square-foot exemption. They're pre-existing.
The stoop, the 22 feet,
I just was explaining that.
the AC unit?
It was deemed at the time that it was a trade-off and that they didn't need a wetlands permit.
Is there paper on that? Is there something that you can show me and say, oh, okay, here
Well,
it is?
just the documents that were,
I mean,
just the documents. Why else would they have pulled a 226 feet of pool patio out if they weren't trading?
I don't know. I don't know.
Why make that kind of deal if the 100-foot exemption was not part of it?
Well, the 100
It's not
square,
documented.
yeah, I mean, the thing you gotta remember is the 100-square-foot exemption was 3 months old when the permit was granted for that, 3 months, 4 months maybe. I believe the 100-square-foot exemption went into effect July 25th or something of 2007. The permit here, it's all on that thing that I wrote out.
October.
May, yeah. When was the permit granted? I have it on my little.
October.
Yeah.
So they weren't even thinking about it, really. Okay.
I mean, we've had that happen before where we pass a legislation and the board doesn't know about it for 3 or 4 months, and we end up having to repeal the legislation because it hasn't been acted on.
Well,
So,
generally when you're gonna enact, and from our standpoint, if you're gonna enact legislation like that, you wanna have a grace period. They do it with the building. Because there are people who have been spending a year or 2 years coming up with a plan with an architect. And if legislation changes that makes it impossible to do that, they get caught flat-footed. So generally what you do is you have like a 6-month or whatever grace period so that so that people can prepare for it.
Almost 20 years later. Okay. I don't know.
I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying that it was, it's See, this is how things used to be done, and it's what Mary said was done. And the fact that that they clearly were aware of it and still approved it would support that interpretation.
Right.
All right. I'd like to look further
Sure.
into
There's a lot of.
the information.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. I guess if you could just
Sure, yeah.
please the podium. Anyone from the public who wishes to come up? John?
Yeah, I mean, what you've heard from Reed is all hearsay on top of hearsay. Someone's memory from 2007? Are you kidding me? I mean, what we know is that they granted a one-time exception of 100 feet that they got of 58 feet or whatever it is, several months later. I mean, you can't say quote Mary Wilson from 2007. I think we got to deal with the facts as we know them today. So what we have is this 100 square foot exemption, of which they've used, I think, 58 feet of already. And I don't think it's a rolling, from what I read, it's like a one-time exemption. And it doesn't roll. It doesn't go, I'm using 20 feet this year, and I'm using, 50 feet the next year, and I got something else, coming in the year after to get to 100 square feet. So I think the only, and I think court would just say, here are the facts. They've given this exemption. The only logical reason for it is that it is in the 100 square foot exemption that had been passed. Not that, we're trading this for that and the next thing, that's all hearsay. We don't know. And Mary Wilson remembers from 2007. It's almost 20 years ago. One application, it defies logic. Listen, I just want to thank you for your time. I know you've been through this a lot, and I have. But, this ledger domain that continues and continues and continues. You got to remember what this is supposed to be. It's an accessory sleeping quarters structure. So it's made for, people that help out or whatever. And initially it came in at 2,300 square feet in the wetlands, 3 bedrooms, although, they labeled one of the bedrooms that had a closet as an office. And so we had to go to court, and the judge even said, I don't want to rehash the whole thing, but it just shows you the sleight of hand that they use. Although, and this is quoting, although labeled as an accessory apartment, it's complete with a kitchen, a dining area, even though labeled a kitchenette. So this is this continuing, I say ledger domain, but whatever you want to call it, trickery, I think. So if they're entitled to 100 square feet, I think they've used it, basically. They've used the one-time exemption. But for sure, they've used, I think, 58 square feet. And I don't think it should roll. So only one other thing. There was a comment by one of the people in the planning, it was in the minority, that when the last plan was turned down, and he said, well, we need affordable housing. Well, this has nothing to do with affordable housing. These people aren't in the 1%. They're in the top 100th of 1%. So, this has absolutely nothing to do with affordable housing. Now, the only reason I say that is I see someone here that's running for the town board, and, her main initiative is we need affordable housing. Again, I think, we have wetlands, regulations, and I think you would have enforced them. That's basically what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anyone else?
Hi, good afternoon. Lori Beard-Raymond. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Sutherland Heights Property Owners Corporation. And I have a couple of comments, and maybe they're more questions than comments. The building department, and currently now, is allowed to make that 100 square foot exemption. But, is the building department allowed to horse trade over 100 square foot exemption? The plans by the architect, that the building permit was issued, on in 2007, clearly say, renovation of existing dwelling to include roofing, siding, trim, insulate, replace doors and windows, update mechanical system, replace pool patio, and repair pool. There's no mention of a dining patio, probably on the plans, but, from 2007, it shows it on the plan, but it doesn't say that. The permit specifically says patio to be located 100 foot from the wetland boundary. And it's replacing the existing pool patio. So the plans from the architect show those calculations of, yes, we're taking the old patio out and putting a new pool patio in, and they're reducing the size of that pool patio in the wetlands, but it still says it has 22 square foot intrusion into the wetlands. So I don't know how someone could misconstrue that as a dining patio when the permit clearly, talks about something else, as well as the plan by the architect in 2007, because the dining patio was never in the wetland, so it was never part of that 100 square foot exemptions, according to the plan issued by the architect in 2007. The plan, and now based on what I'm hearing today, it sounds like there's more than that little bit of pool patio and the little bit of stoop, which comes to about 58 square feet, that there may have been other things that were horse traded for. I don't know what those calculations are, because those weren't shown on the plans from 2007 in terms of those calculations. So, I start to look back at a bigger picture, and that is, how many times can that wetlands 100 square foot exemption be allowed? And, are we here to protect the environment, or are we not? The plans have been neutered from the stormwater requirements issued by your own town's environmental consultants and engineers. The existing pool has been there for some time, pre-existing, non-conforming, no discrepancy about that. But it doesn't have a dry well. We brought that up in the planning board hearings when they were reviewing this, and the pool has been renovated by at least 3 times. Once in 1999, when the DEC issued a permit for discharging the pool water into the bay. And twice since then, when there were, town permits, but no DEC permits. So there's no pool dry well. Where does that pool water go when this pool has been renovated 3 times? So, it's all about the environment, and that's the whole purpose of the 100 square foot exemption, is to limit construction in the wetlands. And based on the history of the things that have been, horse traded as was discussed, it sounds like to me that there was more than that 100 square foot, which the building department really had no authority to issue more than 100 square foot, call it horse trading or not, only the town board would have been able to make that determination. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Grace Evans. I live at 5 Cheapwood, so directly next door. And I just wanted to make some points or reiterate some points that were already made, as someone who probably is most.
Pause for a second. Read.
Oh, sorry. Just most negatively impacted by the whole project. I'm sure you're well aware, but I think it's worth mentioning that, the proposed structure, by virtue of its size, its awkward orientation, which you've seen, the height of it, it alters the historic character and the views of the neighborhood and the block. The Heights is an already very, very dense community, and the last thing that's needed is more density, especially at the cost of the wetlands, which is why the Heights Property Owners Corp, the CAC, all of the neighbors have been against the project from the beginning. So I find it hard to imagine that it's the right project to grant a wetlands exemption for, especially when there seems to be no need to really do so. You can reduce the structure to meet the required setbacks and not encroach on the wetlands, not even need the 100 square foot exemption. To say it's becoming tiresome to have to come and rehash everything is an overstatement. It's already been denied by the planning board, and yet we're still discussing building in the wetlands. The structure is crammed in right up to every possible setback, while conveniently placing all of the HVAC and all the mechanical things on our side of the property. I think that given how much it encroaches on the setbacks already, it's egregious to ask for additional setbacks. Additional exemptions on top of that. I just, another point that's never been, is still open, is that there's concern about the positioning of the drainage on this project that has not been addressed. Reducing the size of the structure to avoid the wetlands does not negate the need for adequately designed drainage to keep the runoff from their property onto ours. It just seems like the rules are the rules. I think this is a particularly pertinent project to strictly adhere to them. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stella?
Hi, Stella Ragudis from Shelter Island Heights Property Owners Corp. I think I want to put my comments into two buckets. One is just a recap of how we got here, and the other has to do with documentation, memorialization, and things of that nature. So when this project first came before the town planning board, it was large, it was encroaching into the wetlands, and we spent 2 years arguing that point, fighting that point, and finally, the planning board made a decision based on the fact that this is a new structure and it had never been demonstrated that this could be built outside of the wetlands. And they made the decision, the majority declined it. There was 2 years we'd been asking for alternatives. 1 week later, maybe 2 weeks later, there are new plans that come out completely out of the wetlands. It's terrific. Out of the wetlands, and what does that do? It gets the Heights comfortable. We now give the water availability letter to the Department of Health. The building department is able to provide a new permit, and then right after that permit's done, all of a sudden, this 100-foot exception comes back. It's kind of disingenuous where we've gone through different iterations of what this structure is to look at. We've already had the planning board say, stay out of the wetlands. We know that there are already things that are encroaching in the wetlands, and now we want more. So that's like one chunk of comments I'd like to make. The other chunk of comments has to do with maybe a mistake was made. Horse trading, and you stole my comment, Lori, is maybe it was okay back in the day, but we had a law on the books. I don't care if it was 5 months before this happened. I don't care if it was 5 years before. You had a law on the books. The law said if there's an encroachment, if the encroachment's already been taken. That's the point. We thought it was 58 feet. We now hear that it's more than 58 feet. I think we're done. When does a previous existing encroachment, where does it say if you've got that previous encroachment, you're still able to get a new 100-foot encroachment? It's just not right. And I think, you hear this like emotion in my voice. We're all tired. I'm sure Debbie's tired too. Ian's tired. Everyone's tired. So now it's in your court to make a decision if you think that the fact that we didn't have properly documented encroachment into the setbacks means that you guys can give a full 100-foot setback for an accessory structure that's going to have a porch and a beautiful, second floor to look at the view. That's not what you need on an accessory structure. And it was already demonstrated when they did the second plan that was approved by the building department, because the planning board said no. So sorry to be a little emotional. Thank you.
Hello, Ian McDonald, I'm the project architect. I just want to remind the board that we're just talking about the use of 100 square foot exemption. We're not talking about the house or drainage or any other from the past. We have a building department permit that has approved the structure, accessory sleeping quarters, and the drainage and everything else about it. What we are asking for is a covered porch in the front, that's mostly due to access to the waterside lawn. Right now, because of the big restrictions we had to make to the structure to get a permit that complied with setbacks, we have the front sitting area exiting directly onto the swimming pool. It is our goal to build this for safety reasons, so that the young children don't go directly into the swimming pool, that the swimming pool be outside of the structure's enclosure. The structure will be outside the pool enclosure. I've been thinking back to this application. I've obviously been the Shepherd's architect since 2006, 2007. I ran the project, and I put in the first application. I remember speaking to Mary back then, and we had a couple conversations. One I recall directly, she called me back after the preliminary ones. She said she took it up to Al Kilb. They spoke about it together, because we were reducing over 190 square feet of intrusion. That's including the addition of the little bit of a front stoop off the house to get from the living room to the waterside lawn, for safety reasons. And we reduced the patio. We still reduced over 190 square feet of wetlands intrusion. Another thing to note on that property is the mean high watermark ebbs and flows. Back in 1999, it was quite a bit out there. You can see these in the surveys. Come 2007, it's changed a little bit again, always designated by a surveyor. In Hurricane Sandy, the line moved, a lot of that beach was eroded, and it moved very close to the bulkhead. Then after Sandy, it has substantially started moving back. From 2022, 23, when I had county surveyors flagged it, it was inboard of the Nathan Corwin's original setback from 99 or 2007, whichever year he did it. And then the most recent by John Minto, it's moved out again. And I think in a couple of years, we'll find it's going to move out again as the beaches change. So where I'm going is that line is fluid, but every application is based on the line that it is at the time of the application. Back in 2007-8, we reduced by 190 square feet. We were not required to go for a wetlands process. We were not issued an exemption. We're asking for our exemption now for safety reasons, for egress in the cottage, the accessory sleeping quarters, so we don't have to go right into the pool area. The 10 foot by 10 foot, the 100 square foot area we've talked about in the past at town board meetings is a very de minimis amount. 10 feet, maybe from the wall to Ben, and then forward, it's a tiny, tiny amount. And we're really not talking about anything substantial in this application. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Ian, I have one. Did the planning board in their review, did they see the porch and second floor deck plan?
This is outside the planning board's purview. In the planning board review, we were actually asking for a 12-foot deep, full width, building width covered porch. This one is 6 feet deep and
My question was, did the planning board see this plan?
I just answered it. It's outside the planning board's purview. It came to you. You guys took wetlands back.
So they didn't see it. Is that your answer?
They have no reason to look at it.
It's a different application. It's a different application.
I know, Amber.
I mean, for what it's worth, the planning board voted 5-0 that there was no significant damage under the site secret type 1 for the previous project. It's throwing out that no significant damage.
Anyone else in the public, the physical audience? Pam?
So, okay, it seems like there's some discrepancy over whether or not the full 100 square foot or 58 square foot was used, or whatever the numbers are that we're gonna talk about in the horse trading. I'm gonna direct your attention to what Mr. McDonald just said about the wetlands line now is based on the new survey. So when we look at this new survey where the wetlands line is, and it's obviously in the pool, on the pool coping, right, and running the length of the pool, this is agreed upon. This is the 100-foot mark. Has everyone agreed upon that at least? That's the that's the line we're discussing this 100 square foot exemption upon. Is that correct?
That's
Yes, that's the current survey.
My impression.
Okay, so in order to put in the building structure for this application that they've received the building permit for, in order to fit within the setbacks, they needed to reduce the width, actually the length of the pool eastward by a couple of feet so that the building could shift close, move this whole thing. This is why it's almost dangerous, as he's saying, because you're coming right out of the house and into the pool. There's no dimension on how much that building needed to shift and how much of that patio needed to be taken away so that they didn't need to go to the zoning board for a side yard setback variance. It was never on any of the plans. It doesn't show it. It just shows that that patio is now going to be 4 feet, 8 inches wide. So my contention is on this exemption application, even though you might say, oh, they haven't used it, there's still demolition occurring of that patio on the whole width of the patio where the length of the new building is going to be. And if there's demolition in the wetlands regulated area, I am going to request that this town board investigate a wetlands permit for that demolition. Because I know there needed to be demolition of that side of the pool patio in order to fit the building in place on the previous application. So I think almost this 100 square foot wetlands exemption is absolutely moot, because I don't care how much of it is being demolished. It says if you're demolishing anything in the wetlands, you need a permit for that. That's town code. I mean, let's not start playing with town code. That's what it says in town code. Demolition in the wetlands needs a wetlands permit. And there is going to be the need for demolition of part of that patio where this porch is supposed to line up to the building to occur in order for this porch with this rooftop bulk regulation extension, that's interesting, is planning to go. So I think that needs to be taken under consideration by the board.
It doesn't look like there's pool decking where the porch is going.
Can I respond to that? We are not.
We don't have the actual dimensions of most of what's in that area is not delineated anywhere on these plans. I just know from previous discussions that you may say that by looking at it now, but where is it? Where was the pool patio before anything even started? Let's go back to the very first survey that they submitted on 2 years ago that doesn't have the dimensions on that. I think it needs to be investigated. This is a very important application. This is not only going to require demolition, this is going to require some really strenuous construction to occur to put the piers in, to put something in that's going to hold weight on a second story. So I almost seem that takes it right out of the realm of a 100 square foot exemption. You folks just made a guy take apart his gazebo because it was in the wetlands. You made them take out a fireplace because it was in the wetlands. You're gonna allow this to go back in? This was denied by the planning board. It's just, it really is disingenuous of the applicant to try to pull a fast one here. And that's what I see going on. And if there's demolition, I don't see how you can allow this to continue until that's investigated. So those are my comments. Take it as they are.
To clarify on the patio, we are not changing its size at all. In the previous application that was in front of the planning board, we were reducing it a little bit of an amount to create a planter against the house. We are not changing the patio in this application at all, or the one that was permitted by the building department.
I'm sorry, then I don't understand how the building fits within the setbacks then on the side yard then. Did you narrow the building as well for this new building permit? And as Mr. Dixon says, he wants to see dimensions on this, and no plans have been submitted to the board to confirm what is being discussed here today. And that's also disingenuous.
I don't believe I'm supposed to be talking directly to the,
Yeah, no, you talk to the board.
and that's a question of the building department permit that was issued.
Anyone else who has any comments or questions for the board? Okay. I'm going to suggest that some of us need time to go in and talk to Reed and go through the plans a little bit.
Am I the only one that wants to?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I want to as well.
Let's see
Yeah,
some
just-
dimensions
I'm just like
myself.
making sure, like, I'm not the only one. Okay.
That's,
Okay, all right, so we
Sounds
won't
right.
be making any decision, we'll have to get together with you, Reed. So we'll move on.
Thank you for your time.
And I just want to say thank you to those, because we tabled it last week and moved it to this week, so thank you to those who came back to participate today. Next agenda item is the dredging extension request for Tolkien. Why am I not finding the address? 6 Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie's Lane. Yeah. When you say extension, time or it's, you want to dredge more?
No, what it is in Amber, you're on. Our dredging permits are issued for 1 year.
Yeah.
The DEC issues them, this one I believe goes until 2033. Yes, yeah, it goes to June 4th, 2033. So every year someone wants to use the dredging, they don't, dredging permit, they don't have to go back to the DEC, but they do have to come to us, which is something that I brought up before, that I would like to at
There's
some
only a
point.
time window, like, for when you can dredge.
Yes, you have to follow, make sure.
I know, we missed it this year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, but this, I presume that Costello will do the dredging when they are allowed to do it. But unlike a previous applicant who was pushing it up, into the window or did the dredging without permission, they're coming to ask for that extension to, what's the date of this application?
I feel like it makes sense for an application like this where it's a maintenance dredge and the DEC gives them a 10-year approval, that we also issue an approval that mimics the DEC's so that they're not coming back every year. I feel like it gets silly after.
Yeah, and what I'd like to do is, I didn't have a chance to look to see where in legislation it says that we can only issue 1-year permits for dredging, but I think we should.
I'm not sure that it specifies that.
Yeah,
For some reason, I
yeah.
felt like it actually wasn't.
Yeah, and Amber, you and I didn't
1 year
connect, that was the
only.
question I was reaching out to you on.
They can request a 1-year extension, but the permits are issued for 2 years now.
And is that in our code or policy?
Yes, it's in the dock code.
It's in the dock code, okay. Which we just amended and didn't fix. All right, so then this application is asking for a 1-year renewal, but we could issue a 2-year renewal. Yeah, I don't know if they're issuing a 2-year renewal. I know, I do want to double check that. Does anyone else have a problem issuing a multi-year, as long as we're code compliant?
No, I don't.
I don't.
No, I do.
All right, so we'll take a look at that, Amber, and make sure when we're working on resolutions later this week for Monday, that we comply with the code, but if we can do 2-year, then we'll do 2-year. Any questions from the public on this? Anyone on Zoom? Okay. Oh, fast agenda item.
Yay.
All right.
We need one more of those.
Yes. The next item on the agenda was a request from the Ram Film Society. I did notice earlier that we did have Robert, and I apologize, Profusek, I'm saying that incorrectly, was on earlier, but I don't see him on at the moment.
It's from the Ram Film Society.
Yeah, and I think let me just look at, because Ian and I we did text on this one earlier today. He said he was in between appointments. Amber, do you want to reach back out to him and we can move on to other agenda items and come back to this if he's able to join us in a little bit?
I just
Yeah.
looked at my email. He had a client, so I believe he's unable to attend today.
Okay. Anyways,
What do you want
just,
to do with this?
well, I was going to say, according to town code, signs on the public rights of way providing information concerning religious services, service clubs, and community organizations. And this is that permitted signs in all zoning districts must be located on premises to which they apply. And then 5 says signs on public right of ways. Such signs shall not exceed 4 square feet in total area. Permission for placement of such signs shall be requested by letter to the town board. So that's what we
Is the
have.
Ram Film Society a religious organization? No.
It's not a religious org.
Service organization?
I don't think so. Is it a community organization?
I don't think so.
I feel like it doesn't specify, but I would hope community organizations would be 501c3s or foundations, which if they don't state that they are.
And here he says a limited number of small promotional signs. There were a lot of them.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody noticed.
Yeah, Ken,
They
how
were
many-
like bunnies. They were all over the place.
Yeah, Ken, how many did you pick up that were in,
I picked up about 40.
oh my God,
Whoa.
that were all on town property?
40.
Yeah, they were all mostly in the right of way.
They were mostly what?
In the right of way.
Okay.
You know, so on the town, you know, we've had this discussion before with some of these signs. They, you know, obviously they should, we hope that they're on people's private property, you know, but if they're going to be in the town right of way, I think if the board allows a sign to go into the, you know, on town property, we should really try to specify that they keep them 10 feet back off the shoulder, off the road's edge at the very least, just because, you know, for mowing and maintenance of the side of the road, they're an obstacle. And there are a lot, you know, with that many signs, I mean, there was a lot of signs out there. They were very nice. I will say that they were very understanding. I contacted them, told them that we had collected all the signs and explained the process that they needed to go through properly to at least bring it before the board. But it was a lot of signs, yes.
Yeah, and I think when we had a previous discussion about this, we did talk about like, you definitely, if you're going to put it like in the, you know, the median on the road here or in traffic circles, you had to come and get the letter. But if you're putting them in front of private residences, get permission from the residents or the business, but keep them out of the, as far back so that when the guys go mowing, they're not interfering with that. I'm inclined to say no. I mean, what else feels?
kind of an easy thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is there any?
And there are plenty of.
Supervisor,
Time.
is there any time sensitivity to this application?
They had,
July 26th.
yeah, July 12th was their first event, and then July 26th is the next one, and then.
The reason
August-
the reason I ask is if the board is inclined to say no, maybe adjourning it to next week to give the gentleman who had appeared earlier an opportunity to be heard wouldn't be a bad idea.
How does the rest of the board feel?
That's fine.
I don't think it's necessary,
Yeah,
but
it's also, I don't think the outcome is gonna change.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we could convey that the inclination is no. They think they have a strong reason to.
Right, but as a courtesy, I'm suggesting,
Mhm.
that's all.
Yeah. Just one more second. I do not see them on the IRS list of not-for-profit organization, tax-exempt organizations, so they don't fall into that category from my perspective. Right? Anyone from the public want to speak on this one?
I'd like to just add one thing to the signs too, just in moving forward. I think it's a good idea for us maybe to incorporate, this is like a specific, but I think even for some of some of the applications that you approve for public, use of the public land that we issue permits for, or noise exemptions and such. Some of these things do end up being fundraisers that we've seen for certain things. It might be a good thing to include in those applications next year when people are trying to, have a public assembly permit for something and they're going to advertise for it, that maybe we specify somewhere that they need to, in the application, it needs to say whether they're going to be putting signs on the town right of way or not, because it gets crazy. I mean, I managed to clear quite a few of these, but then there was other ones popping up from the Greek festival. And, we've talked about the mosquito guy. I mean, I think it's like, it becomes like, they're like gremlins. They just keep growing. Like they see a sign and somebody goes, oh, wow, they let people put signs here. And now they're all over the roads. So, and it really becomes a problem. So I think it's just something that to keep it in, I mean, even though like I love the farmer's market, I'm not, the farmer's market's great, but maybe we talk to the historical society and say, hey, maybe you put a banner up on the historical society instead of, signs all over the road. I mean, it's just me. I mean, I'm the sign guy. We've got to put up signs, but we have no shortage of signs on Shelter Island, and we certainly don't need a lot more. So just a thought.
Mhm. Okay, thank you, Ken. All right, next topic is municipal building septic funding discussion. That, and we put that on the list I saw.
I did, yeah.
Agenda.
I just wanted to know, we're gonna need surveys. Joe doesn't have it in his budget.
Yes, he
And
does.
oh, he does?
We talked about it this morning, and
Okay.
we already have a survey for police department,
Right.
as the ADA, and we need one for justice court, and that's gonna cost about $5,000, and he has currently $6,900 in his professional services budget.
There's nothing to discuss.
So he can proceed. But I told him to hold off ordering it until we had this discussion today, just to make sure we were all on the same page.
Great, that's very good
That's
news.
good news.
Okay. Next topic is pro-housing resolution discussion. And so what you have in front of you, there's a few things. I think a few of us are going and covering this from multiple angles. So you have the pro-housing communities model resolution. And that was posted on the website. I think that the question is the 5 if I'm not mistaken, the 5 items that are listed, which are streamlining permitting for multifamily housing, affordable housing, accessible housing, accessory dwelling units and supportive housing. 2, adopting policies that affirmatively further fair housing. 3, incorporating regional housing needs into planning decisions. 4, increasing development capacity for residential uses. And 5, enacting policies that encourage a broad range of housing development, including multifamily housing, affordable housing, accessible housing, accessory dwelling units, and supportive housing. So I think that's what we have previously stumbled over.
Yes, and I just want to say thank you, Liz and Meg. The 3 of us worked over the weekend on a solution to the problems that are presented by those 5 items. And we made some progress, and I just want to say, I want to get ahead of the Shelter Island Lumber Mill and say that I believe everyone up here very pro affordable housing. We all want to see this project happen. We're all working towards this project happening. But we also want to try not to make any mistakes or do anything stupid. So that's what this discussion is about. It's not whether or not we're for housing. We're all for housing. Everybody supports it. So we're just trying to figure out the best way to do it. And talking with Liz last week and over the weekend, and Meg over the weekend, we decided that maybe one way to address this is the state has issued this proposed resolution that we're all supposed to adopt to get it become, for the project to become eligible for certain funding, state, county, federal. The resolution, as you mentioned, Amber, is problematic as far as home rule goes and as far as whatever situation our comprehensive plan is in. And we're trying to find a way to make the resolution palatable, because in my research in the last week, I don't see how the state is going to entertain any changes to it. I don't see it. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't see it. So what we've come up with, or at least what the 3 of us have been working on all weekend, is a side document, what we call a companion document, that basically explains how the resolution fits into life on Shelter Island. Well, we have a lot of work to do on it. Is it enforceable? How does it fit in with our comprehensive plan issues? I mean, there are a whole host of questions that still have to be answered, but at least this is the best that the 3 of us could come up with so far, which is to have what we're calling a companion letter to go along with this resolution, to at least have some sort of official record of how we're looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right, man?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had also passed out for, be it further resolves, that Southampton is looking to add, and it hasn't gone through their board yet, but in working with Supervisor Moore, she said that in talking to representatives, they were told that they couldn't modify or delete any of the language that's in the state resolution, but we could possibly add language, or they could possibly add language. So I've given you that language as well, and so maybe we do something that incorporates like both, and see if we can add this language, and if it flies, and if it can't, then we come back and do something like this. But I just was, had just gotten this from Supervisor Moore, so you haven't had a chance to really look at it, and I have not had a chance to look at this, but do you want to go?
What we worked on?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
do you guys
long.
want to go through with us just to give us sort of an overview, and then?
Take it away, man.
Oh, okay. Essentially what we went through is sort of the concept behind the pro-housing designation established by the state, and sort of we kind of did a summary on why it would be beneficial for us, what some of the benefits would be, And then some key strategies and implementation, which are essentially the 5 items that are at the bottom of the resolution. We went through each one and we explained what that topic could look like for us as a town, so that it kind of gives an idea of what we're considering in adopting that resolution, or what factors we would be looking into. So it kind of goes through all 5 of them. So it goes through the streamlining of permitting, the zoning review, Department of Health regulations, incorporating regional housing, essentially explains about how our neighboring communities are struggling with the same challenge that we are. So it kind of just explains the different aspects of the resolution and how we as a town would be interpreting and understanding those two, how they reflect us and what this means for us. Because, you figure East Hampton's going to have a different take on it than we are. Southampton's going to have a different take on it than we are. Upstate New York is going to have a different take on it than we are. So because it's a statewide resolution, it doesn't necessarily reflect the nuance of Shelter Island. So we kind of went through and identified what we thought each thing meant for us as a town. And that would kind of go hand in hand with the resolution itself, to kind of clarify the board's thinking at the time of adopting the resolution. So that it would, today we had discussions about this 100 square foot exemption and documentation not being solid and not understanding where people are coming from. And this companion document, so to speak, would clarify the position and the direction that the board was taking and thinking at the time of adopting that resolution. So we thought it might just add clarity to the future when people look back, and also to any future boards moving forward. And to the state, should they come in and, make requests of us that we're like, this is not our understanding of the resolution. So it kind of protected us on many fronts, was the thought that we had.
And just to add, I mean, given the time we had to work on this and all the distractions we all have in our lives, I'm really happy with where we've gotten so far on this, but we're not there yet. But we're moving in the right direction.
I like how you have this, like now that I'm actually reading through some of this, I like how you've got it laid out. And how it speaks to each one of these and kind of.
In detail, we tried to
Yes.
get kind of into the nitty gritty.
Mhm.
Not sure what else there is to say.
Other than I think we should all read it.
Yeah, we're moving in the right direction. Let's keep
Yeah,
going.
I was gonna say, put it back on for next week, so keep it. See if we can get this going, because at some point, we're going to want to apply for funding. So the sooner we can get this, get the resolution up to the state, if we adopt it with or without the additions, we'll be able to find out whether or not it's been accepted, and if we have to pivot.
Right. I don't know that necessarily all of the things that they're suggesting are necessary. Some of them,
Yeah, but I couldn't find anything that said, make all the edits you want. Everything was like, here it is.
No, and
Pass the resolution.
And Supervisor Moore said that it was in talking to state representatives, so of course it has to get up to a level that.
Yeah. And Liz, would you mind could you maybe explain to the crowd the funding piece, how SDLI is going to provide money?
So just to back up, I'm Liz Hanley, I chair the Community Housing Board. And just to kind of talk about how are we here? So I have been for May it has been on the agenda for over a year to talk about the pro-housing resolution. The reason that is really important that it is before you today is because for towns that are pro-housing communities, either by virtue of passing this resolution or just showing through their numbers that they have shown growth in housing, we're not there yet, that unlocks a lot of state funding. Now, as you know, we have an RFQ, which we have selected a vendor for and informed last week. So 10 rental units. And our financial model is based on the availability of being able to access some of this state and county funding. So we know that we are going to need that. And again, that financial model is based on not putting forth any town funding, you're just using the land. So it is really imperative to not dip into the town's budget, that we are able to access some additional monies to make this happen. So let's talk about the delta that we calculated, David Doyle and I calculated the initial models. Obviously, costing has changed. It was about $2 million. That is the delta that we see that was needed. That's what we kind of had already looked for funding. There is some available at the county. Unfortunately, we did kind of miss a little bit of a window as the delays went on. So we are going to need to look for additional monies beyond that county funding. And our bidder, as well as like myself, looked to the state that has a large pot of money available for housing. So it would be ideal to be able to apply and be able to use this state money to fill the gap in our development. So I do also want to say that we are moving forward. We hope to have a memo of understanding going back and forth between, we're going to start iterating with our council and their council to get this project going. So this is very, just to everybody understands the timing, I have been asking about this for over a year, but this is very quickly going to become very urgent. So that's just, I just want everybody to understand. Now, Gordon, I know that we had talked about, so, okay, what happens if we can't get this done, right? So what happens if we can't get this done? We would have to change the demographic that we need to serve, which would be not looking for workforce housing, which was our charge from the community housing plan. We are very reticent to even consider that. We put a great deal of work into that community housing plan. I feel like the community has put a lot of trust in us to get us to this point. And so I feel like it's really important to be able to serve the community that we said we were going to serve. So that option would look like we would have to lower the median income of those applicants so that we could unlock some federal funding. I do agree that there are folks in this community that need to be served at that level. That is not what we are trying to do with this program. So we are, like I said, we're very reticent to do that. The other option is we could use part of our community housing fund. Again, it would completely deplete it, ruling out projects, for the next round of our community housing plan, which will take place in about 2 years. We have been trying to save that money. My personal take is that there will probably be something in there for seniors, and I would like to keep that money back to be able to serve whatever projects come forward. So it is possible. It is the least, we'd really rather not look at those options. If we don't have to, we can make it work. I would also just say for this resolution and Supervisor, I don't know if anybody's aware, but I am not aware of any municipality in the state of New York that has been able to have their resolution accepted with changes. So I understand what Southampton is doing, but I do wonder if ultimately the state of New York would accept it with amendments or things added to it, and if that would just further delay our project. And then also to just, Megan and I have spent a lot of time working on this, and I guess I would just want to kind of bring up, and this is just my understanding of it, that there is some concern about home rule, and I've really, I've heard this a lot. And so I spent some time with the document, right, the actual resolution, looking at it. And what I see is I guess for me, looking at it, I can't understand how any of that would supersede Suffolk Health or local zoning. My understanding that the resolution is necessarily broad because it must serve every New York community. And I'm sure that the Bronx looks very different than here, you know? So it is going to have to necessarily be quite broad and subject to the individual zoning codes and health departments of those various municipalities. So that's just something, I just kind of feel like the home rule is already kind of baked into it. And, you know, there was like the fourth amendment or addition in the items that you added, Amber, was, you know, I think that actually sums up so much of it. The idea of this resolution is to serve as a guidepost as we kind of walk through and finish our comprehensive plan. And we think about what that means as you know, as the zoning code is starting to be reevaluated. And as you guys have said, like, I do believe this board is committed to making affordable housing happen. And so I just kind of say, how I look at it is this is just kind of saying that, like, that's already what we're gonna try to do. And so just the way I view it is it's just a resolution saying that. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I just want to add to that one of the steps that we haven't taken yet is to have our lawyers, Stephen Leventhal or wherever may be appropriate, look at the work we've been doing, but we're almost there, and that's an important step for us to take.
Right, thank you. I just took a look at the model resolution that's posted on the town's website. And insofar as what I suspect the state would be interested in seeing and what it might be less concerned about, there are active clauses in the resolution and there are statements preceded following the word whereas that are just premises. They are not part of the action that the board is taking. They're just what was in the mind of the board at the time they took the action. I suspect that the state will care less about what was in your mind when you adopted the resolution than it will about the resolution itself. And the resolution itself is not does not command any action. It says that you will endeavor to do certain things. So I don't really regard it as all that intrusive into the independence of the town board.
I mean, we don't have to talk about this now, but so are you saying that this 3 or 4 pages that we've been writing should be a long whereas clause, or
No,
should it be a separate standalone?
No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the model resolution that's posted on the website.
Yep.
I actually have not yet seen or reviewed a longer document that you're working on, which of course I will be happy to do prior to the next work session.
Right.
May I think it's really important that our town council does look at it, but I think that I actually did have, we also have outside housing counsel that has been working with us on our other project, and I have run this past her. And, you know, I think that there was something really important that he said, which was the same feedback that I got, which was this resolution, even without the companion document, does not impinge on the independence of the town. And I kind of think that that is the really big takeaway here, in my imperfect legal understanding, but definitely would be important. That's what the feedback I got. And so I wonder a little bit, I mean, I do think it would be important, regardless as to whether it is needed or not, to explain to our neighbors what was in our mind. Like a companion document, I think is just important for explanation, right, to our constituents. But I think, I don't even know if it's needed at the state level. So I would just like, maybe it's much ado about nothing. That's kind of.
I wouldn't say that. It may not be needed at the state level, but I think it's critical for the local level.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, that was why I came up with the idea of it, you know, I think that that is important, but I don't necessarily think it's needed at the state level. And if the concern is infringing on the town's autonomy, I think what I'm hearing from council, and this is like the second time I've heard it, is that's not really what they're seeing. And I would encourage the board to look more deeply on that. But if that is the case, I would encourage you to pass the resolution without delay so that we can continue.
Right, and if I may, what I meant to say was not that you necessarily want to exclude the whereas clauses altogether. It's just that I think you have more freedom to tinker with them without being concerned that you are getting off the reservation. So I think you can customize them as you, in order to reflect what you think for your community.
Are you aware that any community has had additions approved by New York State?
No, but
Yeah.
I'm telling what I think that you and I are saying the same thing.
Whereas clause is not part of the body of the document.
Okay,
Right.
Now, therefore,
I just wanna.
after that is,
Yeah, so I mean, maybe that's restructuring the companion document, but yeah, anyway,
like I said, we're going in the right direction, and we're almost there.
yeah, it's only been a year plus, so we'll get there.
And once again, everybody wants to there.
Any other comments? Oh, Pam, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to remind the town board that in the application for this program, it does require that a zoning map is submitted in a specific digitized form that's
Yeah.
part of the National Zoning Atlas. So, and
Yeah,
we don't have that, and I don't know how long it would take for that to happen, but I think it's almost important to have that done before you actually then move on with the process of filing the application. It's part of the application.
We do actually have that. It's in our GIS, so we can download that layer of the GIS and send it to the state. So it is something that we are capable of doing.
Okay, so you can just make the transfer of that, Meg? There's no problem in getting it into the digitization that they're looking for? I mean, I just wanted, I don't want to see this held up either. I mean, I'm not trying to make a problem. I'm just trying to point out, I know it's part of the application, so it's make sure that's okay.
Yes, that's correct, Dan. We can do it. We do have that ability.
So we'll take a look and just pick this up next week and then decide how to proceed.
Yeah. You want to send a copy of this to Steve now, or do you want to take another run at it?
I mean, it's up to you guys. I mean, I can send it to
Let's just do it
Steve
now
so
to get
he
his
can look at
comments
it,
in.
and if people have comments, they can add them.
Yeah, let's give it to Stephen now, and
I'll do.
I'll find those other 2 or 3 comments I had, which got lost.
Yeah, I thought he was copied when we all got it.
No.
I didn't actually email it. I just printed it and put it on your
Oh,
table. So
okay.
that was me. I will forward it to the whole board now.
Yeah, because we were worried about open meetings law, and it was just me and Mag talking about this. So.
Well, and I accepted all the edits 5 minutes before the meeting.
Okay. Okay, to be continued. Okay. Intermunicipal agreement for the Community Preservation Fund Council and the Peconic Bay Region Advisory Committee. I have given you the latest draft, and it is still a draft. I have a call scheduled tomorrow to go over changes, but this is just to get it in your hands so you can start thinking about it. This is not something that I'm looking for edits from all of you. I just want you to see it and understand it. When I have a final form, I'll get it to you. We already have 5 towns, so that means at least 10 people 5 supervisors and 5 town attorneys making edits, which is why we haven't gotten to the end yet, because River had just submitted some more changes yesterday. So having 10 cooks in the kitchen is bad enough. So I think, and Stephen Leventhal has gone through and given comments, and I'm going to go over the last few that he had tomorrow.
They say that a camel is a horse that was designed by a committee.
Yeah, and we're running into issues with that. So I just wanted you to know, because once we get this in final form, then all 5 towns have to adopt it in order to sign it. And then we can continue moving forward, which is hiring the council that the committee needs, and then we can start to have the advisory committee meet and answer questions that are before each of the towns, such as what constitutes growth when utilizing WQI funds. It's something that we bump up against. And I know that there's another question that we have that we want to submit. I have it on the list elsewhere, but that's the one that just popped into my head. So I just wanted you to all see it, and when I have a final document, I'll provide it to you so that we can adopt it. I don't think that's going to happen for Monday night, which is the timeframe was next week to try and get all of the towns to adopt it. But since we don't have a final document, I just wanted to, I keep talking about it week after week, so at least you have something to look at. You know, obviously, if you have questions, let me know.
So you're saying by hopefully maybe next week, there'll be a finished product or a product that needs to be reviewed again?
I keep saying, like, by next week, we should have a final document from the 5 towns, and that week after week doesn't.
I realize that.
Yeah, so, so what I'd be giving you is the final document that's agreed upon by all 5 towns.
Okay.
And their attorneys. And then give it to you so you can read it, so that you have it when we pass the resolution to adopt it.
And the rest of this looks like exactly like the advisory board of years past, except they didn't have an attorney.
Right. Mhm.
Okay, and basically the advisory opinions are not, the towns can use those opinions as they so fit. Meaning then, when they use an opinion, it's not like it becomes something that's universally across all 5 townships. At least that's what I read it here.
Yeah, it's advisory.
It's an advisory only. You can use it or you can't use it, but it's basically a place to go when you have questions.
Yes.
That's really what it is, okay? And a part of the advisory group is you have the chair of the CPF fund that he will attend those meetings with you.
It's the supervisors or whoever they designate.
So
So,
it's not a 2-person group anymore.
no, it's one person, the supervisor or their designee. And one of the discussions we've had is that it doesn't have to be like, it can be the supervisor, but then if the supervisor can't make a meeting, you can have the designee go, or you can just always have the designee go. But it's not set in stone, but it's one vote, one town.
But there are not 2 members attend, like in the past, it was 2 people. It was but now it's going to be the supervisor or the designated person.
Exactly.
So the CPF would be that committee would be looking at issues, or let's hypothetically, and would be presenting those asking for an advisory opinion on how CPF money might be used in this particular issue.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah, got it.
Excellent.
Mhm. Okay, so that's that topic.
It's kind of interesting to see the budget that they have, because you add up all the numbers, okay, it's kind of breathtaking. I mean.
Yes, oh, yes.
When I looked at East Hampton, when you look at the shares of contributions, okay, but I think it's a good thing, long overdue.
Yes, yeah.
I'm curious what the edits are from the respective towns.
You actually, the draft that I gave you, those are,
So what, East Hampton or Southampton?
some of them, yeah, I mean, this has got like different ones, and this is, I think, since the last round that we had a meeting about. So I'm not sure who's like turquoise. think that maybe red is Riverhead, but I'm not sure. And then I don't know who yellow is. And then I penciled in Steve's comments, so. But it's an evolving document and it's had many revisions. So. And a lot of it is wordsmithing. That was the last item, board member reports.
I think there were only 2 committee meetings last week. Wasn't there planning board and what's it?
And Community Preservation Board yesterday.
Oh, let's think about.
Yeah. So. Let's go first.
And I was away, so one of those committees was mine, but I was on vacation.
Well, West Neck Water District was supposed to meet a few weeks earlier and then got postponed. So. Trying to think of the highlights there. The financials that we, Pam had brought up the financials is mislabeled on the agenda. It's not the financials, it is bank balances, which is sort of the same for the other committees too, because there's the only thing that comes out of the financials is the clerk time, as well as the annual payment to cover the payment for the assets.
Oh, for West Neck.
Yeah. And we haven't made that payment yet because there were some questions about some of the calculations in the spreadsheet that came through. So Lisa is working on getting those clarified, and then she and I will sit down. I know that there had been a question while I was away about I think we both got sent that question about the PFAS and the upgrades.
Oh, yeah.
So I was waiting for this meeting, which I thought was going to take place while I was away. The answer would have been forthcoming, but on Friday, it sounds like September is when, or the fall is when they're going to start doing the installation of the GAC filter. Yeah, and they have gotten the money for the DASNY grant. So we will be getting a revised amortization schedule. So drawing a blank on what the payment is called. But anyways, our payment's been about 93,000. It's not debt service, it's the assessment. There's like a terminology we've been using. But the surcharge.
Yeah.
The surcharge is going from like 93,000, I think is what it was, down to about 61,000. Which means that the $144,000 that we have sitting in the class account could conceivably last longer. And that West Neck Water would not have to increase its rates for a longer period of time in order to make sure that the surcharge gets paid back. But once we get that information, we finalize the last bill from Suffolk County Water Authority, then I'll make up something for the West Neck Water Board to consider on, like, this is how much the funds can last if you decide to keep rates flat. This is how much it would last if you decide to give the ratepayers a reduction. So we'll have that forthcoming. And one of the things that came up was the location of the porta potty at the golf course, because it is very close to the new wells that went in. And so Ken and I met with the president of the Goat Hill not-for-profit that runs the golf course, as well as their head groundskeeper, and came up with a different location, and it was approved at their board meeting last night. So it will be moved from where it is near the wells up to near to the driving range. So the golfers will still be able to access it. It's just a slightly different location, whereas it's all self-contained. It was also tied to a tree so that it shouldn't fall over, but accidents can happen. Optics didn't look good. it will now be in a location where even if it did tip over for some reason, it again will be tied to a telephone pole. It would be flowing in a different direction away from the wells.
That was the concern, it might fall up.
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
Even if it's just someone playing a prank and they push it over or whatever, then it would spill into the well field and just the
Yeah.
psychological ramifications of
Yes,
that
yeah,
is
even though,
unpleasant.
yeah, from
Is that when I
surface,
was a teenager, what are you
yeah,
talking
well,
about?
even surface to, wells would take a little time, but still, you don't want to wait 10 years and then have in those. Anyway, so that was West Neck Water. Tui is going to come into executive session to talk to us about a potential acquisition. But there's updates. I don't know if you want to go through this, the Community Preservation Fund meeting.
Yeah. I don't have any real meat. Actually, the further trail maintenance will take place later this fall. That's planned, will be set up. They are concerned about mile-a-minute invasive is very prevalent in Ned's Lane Preserve. And Tim's working on how to really handle that, deal with it. They're planning on obtaining preserve boundary signs as well as trail markers, which should be coming soon so that they can install those. Green Expo, that was basically what I had.
Anyone else?
I had the WMAC.
Yesterday.
The question is, what control does the town have over town waters as far as the oyster leasing program? That's still out there, outside of the 1,500 foot. Can we exert anything? What control, what impact do we have?
Well, we'll find out if they accepted our letter.
Right. I mean, there was that came through. There were two, one oyster culture oyster LLC was incorporated, then it became an LLC. They have a lot of acreage in South Hole Bay and in Gardner's Bay off of Big Ram. I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
Two releases were being.
I think it's like 300 acres they have in Gardner's Bay.
That was the last one that came in, right? That was like the most recent application that
Yeah,
came through.
yeah. They talked about the Royer bulkhead replacement, which was illegal. DEC fined Royer $500. They need to complete the application for the bulkhead replacement. It was incomplete. 24 Fred's Lane.
One question on that, backing up to Royer, the contractor who did it, who came in here and gave his presentation about how he's gonna follow the rules. Is there any action that the contractor licensing review board can take, or?
Well, actually, there's in our new dock code, there's new fines that are listed. The contractor review board is still in a work in progress.
So well, I guess we should talk about whether or not we're gonna do anything.
Well,
They're gonna put it out.
hasn't gotten to us yet.
They have to complete their application.
Okay.
That is incomplete. Another application wanted to install quad logs. It's coconut fibers inside of a biodegradable netting. And just to put up on the shoreline, the WMAC really that this was beyond the high water mark, so it was out of their purview. Claris mooring application in Cocos Harbor was approved 5-0. No issues with that. They talked about the town dock rules and regulations. They're kind of fine tuning those and the wait list procedures for moorings and for town docks. They're fine tuning those and they'll get us those. for review. The other thing that I'd like to talk about is, if I could take some time. Amber, big city machine. I don't know how we move past that.
Do you really want to talk about campaign stuff at this table? This is not the place. Seriously,
I
we
agree.
don't campaign from here, we don't get into it.
Well,
I was almost going to stop, was it John Evans, when he even mentioned a town board candidate being present in this events.
all right,
I
but I'm having trouble moving past it. That's all I'll say right now.
You said you're on vacation, so you didn't have any,
Well, I just had West Tech, but I was away.
yeah. Gordon?
Yeah, I got a couple items, okay. Let me take the easy ones. I think it's, again, I don't know whether this is the right place to bring it up either, okay, but the wellness group, okay, they're having a couple of, I think, important events. It's called Brain Day. It's all about the brain on Tuesday, July 22nd, which is next week. Okay, it'll be from 6 to 7:30 at the community center. These folks are really working pretty hard. And they have one more event that's going to be taking place, which is the Overdose Awareness Day, which will be in August 28th at 7 p.m. on Fisk Field. I guess somehow or other this gets on our website and it becomes, right? So we're not.
Yeah, no, we can talk about
You know, what happens, during the week, there's so many things that go on, we can't necessarily remember all the things, okay? But I'm pretty impressed with how they're working to get their programs together. I'm glad that we answered some other questions, okay? I want to talk about I guess last week was the first time that I put something on the agenda program for the following, weighing out, okay? Is that the way to proceed with this, okay? Or, I mean, I'm just gonna then say really what I would like to do next week. I'd like to really talk about this posting procedures, okay? In terms of what documents get posted on the town website. I've heard there's been a lot of back and forth over it, but I think we can put that on next week. Okay, I think there's a lot of things we need to go through because I don't think there's some inconsistency, and I will get into that. Okay, I guess the thing that I really wanted to find out. Okay, I know that we have the draft, the financial report draft from the accountants. Okay, and I guess the audits are in place. Okay, what I'm trying to understand is the timeline of, and I guess, and the procedure is that the supervisor does the draft budget or proposes a budget.
Tentative budget.
And then that's presented to the town board. Is that how I'm reading it?
Mhm.
Okay. Are there any schedules here in terms of how that time frame may be?
Yes, to some extent. I haven't finished finalizing with Shelby. The Cullen and Danowski did issue a draft financial statement. So they are contract accountants. They are not the auditors.
Right.
So they issue financial statements. They prepare the financial statements, which are then audited by.
Right. Right.
Okay. So I was working with them yesterday about, there was an overaccrual on some salary lines that they didn't understand. So they are going to fix that in the draft. The auditors, I also spoke with them on Friday, and they are working through things. And so they are aware that there is going to be one journal entry that comes back in to undo the overaccruals that were made. So they are getting close to issuing something. So possibly by the end of this week, we may have, we should definitely have the updated Cullen and Janowski financial statements. And then we should also perhaps have a draft of the audit financial statements.
Okay.
Shelby closed out June, so you did see
Yeah.
that everyone gets, you get, every month you get from Shelby since 2019, when she started doing everything online, you do get monthly reports. So since we got those June reports, she is in the process. I finished editing the letter to the department heads and committee chairs that they would start to look at their budgets. I think it's April, just look at the calendar here. I picked 2 weeks for them to start to get back to me. August 6th through the 8th and August 13th through the 15th, I will start to have my department head meetings to sit down and go through everything. The current CPI inflation calculation is 2.35%. So I told this department heads to not put in anything higher than a 2.5% increase in certain budget lines. So we'll see how that goes. Of course, people will, and they will argue and, advocate for their department. I've got the calendars from Shelby that we used last year to just sort of see what the timing was. We are probably, with the timeline that I've sent out, a month ahead. September 30th is when legally I am required to get the tentative budget to Amber. And then from there, last year, we started to schedule a review. So that's what I need to go through. I'm not going to wait until September 30th, obviously, to have the tentative budget go to Amber. It depends on what it looks like and how much, if I need 2 weeks, 3 weeks in order to pull it back together. Last year, I think I did take like 3 weeks because I did the entire budget, saw where it was coming and said, okay, now I have to go back and redo the budget based and make new assumptions on things. So I will hopefully have that for you next week to just tell you when I think I'm going to get it to Amber, and then we can start to look at, tentative calendars for everybody.
So are we looking at September? Is that what so you're thinking that's when you'll have the draft?
Yeah. So it might be, early September, it might be mid-September, but it's a month ahead of last year's schedule.
And then like last year we were late. Okay. The other, there's some other things that we can talk about, but when I did get this June piece, when you got the finances from June 30th, okay? There's a section here, that the column says modified budget. Okay, it's not the budget that we had from last year, but it's the modified budget.
Yes, it's anytime that you've seen budget transfers for 2025, they get reflected in here.
Right, so really, I guess what I'm asking, I'll ask Shelby to do this a little differently, because it sort of throws you off when you have certain budget line items that may be, let's take it hypothetically, for $5, okay? And if we modify it during the year, it becomes $10. So it's really not what we budgeted, okay? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I'm really more interested in having a column that says what we budgeted. I know we modified it, okay? But it's really not, how do you know when people are staying within their guidelines? If we're modifying it, it means it's coming from different other segments to balance off that budget. Anyhow, so it'll be September, that's what you're really saying to me, as far as that's concerned.
And what you're seeing, I don't know exactly, because I just bring up the reports that I need to see when I'm looking at Williamson. So I don't know if she can produce that report with adopted and modified budget in the same place. However, when you get the tentative budget, there will be a column it will update it. I don't know if we'll keep it, the 2020, last year, or 2023 actual, 2024 adopted, 2024 actual, and then the 25 adopted, the 2025 modified.
Right.
And then where we are through, right now it's June 30th, that's what department heads will be working with. By the time you get the budget, it will be July, I guess we'll have numbers for, if I'm trying to work on it and get it to Amber by the end of August or early September. We'll see what the timing is. So you'll have the through budget with 1 or 2 more months added to it from.
So we'll be doing the final budget sometime, where we are right now, you're talking about the board, when the board gets to the budget that you're the final budget that you've come up with, it will be sometime in September. That's really what you're saying. Okay, so, okay.
Yeah, I figured, it gives us more time, especially in this year where I'm concerned, we had the revaluation, and so people in the center are getting hit harder. People on the waterfront are getting a benefit, so their taxes will go down most likely, but I am concerned about the people who their assessments went up, and therefore they're carrying a bigger share of the tax burden. So
I don't understand how that, I don't know what you're saying, okay? Could you just repeat?
Yeah, so the way the pie gets divided is if last year you were paying 1/100th of the budget, and you lived in the center, you may now be paying 1/80th of the budget because.
In the center, yes, right.
Whereas on the waterfront, you may have been paying, I'm just using hypothetical numbers, 1/10th of the tax burden. You now may be only paying 120th.
Paying less.
Yes. Yeah.
But that has nothing to do with,
It has nothing to do with our budget, but it makes me sensitive to people got in their tax bills. They saw, like, if the budget didn't go up at all last year, your tax bill last year was this, your same exact tax bill for this year would be that. So if we then add on a school increase of 2%, a fire district increase of 2%, the library, whatever their increase percent is, I'm sensitive to keep, hoping that everyone can keep those percentages down so that if you last year paid $1,000 and this year it said you're going to pay $1,500, that we don't take it up to $1,700. So that's what I'm trying to minimize.
I'm a little disappointed that this is going to be so late because my feeling is, okay, that with what the taxpayers have gone through with all these increases from homeowners and the full assessment, and they know what's going on. I really wanted to get into it earlier to see if there was any, we have not been able to do that, okay? Well, what kind of savings within the existing budget this year? Are there any things that we could have saved and cut back on, knowing this snowball that's coming, okay? And I think it's a little, I'm thinking it's a little late because when we get into September, okay, I've never been in the budget process with the town board, okay? So I'm assuming you go through the same process again with all your department heads, okay? And we're gonna, it just doesn't give a lot of time. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm slated right now to be a month ahead of the normal cycle. Legally, September 30th, in most towns, that's when we pick it up. So I'm slating it to be a month ahead of time because I realize that we need to do more work. We also can't push it that much even further because there are numbers that we don't start to get retirement numbers. We don't start to get health insurance. We don't start to get our liability insurance numbers until later in the summer or September. Some of them we don't even get until October. So we're starting with guesses to begin with. So if we start too early, we may think we're doing great, and then suddenly a number blows up. And that's a little bit what happened last year. As I was on the regular schedule. We put numbers in. Barbara was working on things. She got me the retirement numbers. It's very, some of the calculations are very complicated and very detailed for our town. That's things, if it gets blown up, if we put too much time in early and think, oh, we got it, and then suddenly.
It's not a question you got it. I think it's a question of just basically getting an early start so that right now, we have no idea what's going on, okay, what the future will bring, okay, but I think by getting into it earlier, okay, it sets a tone, okay, that it's almost like you're in an austerity. I believe it's going to be very close to being an austerity program, okay, of what can we eliminate? What kind of things, what kind of expenses can we cut back on? But if we're not able to look at it until September, it really creates a little hardship. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, the four of us were here last year. and-
September's a month earlier than we started last year.
No, but also, I mean, the four of us look at, I mean, I look at it like really hard, but the four of us did have a chance to look at where to make cuts and things and did make cuts last year.
So maybe the question is there any way that we can help you with the process? I mean, you say you're doing all this work now and you got some upcoming. How can we help carry that load?
There's not, I mean, I work with Shelby on it, the department heads give me their stuff. It really, like, it just takes a focus to like know the moving parts here and there. So sometimes it's like, I don't want a lot of other noise, because when I get into budget mode, like, I am like, other stuff you guys are gonna have to be like carrying, because when I get into budget mode, it's,
Okay.
yeah.
Just asking.
Yeah, no, what you need to do is when we get to the town board level, that's when you guys have to step up and take a look and get creative, do your own digging.
That's all for today.
We need to.
I've got some stuff.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just want to remind everybody to get your new resident beach sticker. If you haven't already gotten it, your sticker shouldn't be green, it should be dark red. So please get your new beach sticker.
Yeah, and actually, just to take that a step further, the TCOs are continuing, because the green stickers are for residents and there's no charge. They are continuing, even though it's a little bit late in the season, letting residents know that, hey, instead of giving you a ticket because you don't have the right beach sticker yet, we're giving you a notice to go to town hall and get it. Because to give them tickets, they come here like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize, I don't look and see that, it's, 5 years has already gone by. Then we have to give it to the attorney who handles justice court, and does he want to throw out the ticket, because do we really want to penalize our residents who are getting a free beach sticker? And that creates work for the court, it creates work for the attorney who we're paying by the hour, so just wanted to let you know. So
Get your sticker.
So get your sticker, so we don't have to, like, at some point, they will start to issue tickets, but it hasn't been happening yet. But I just wanted to explain the process. I mean, we could make lots of money, but then it would be off the backs of our residents. And that doesn't seem right.
For a free sticker anyway.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The next thing I had is the ADU +1 grant program will have office hours next Tuesday, July 22nd, from 1 to 3 o'clock at the library. So if anyone has questions about the grant program, or if they're in the process of applying for the program, they can go there to get their questions answered, to get help with documentation or forms or whatever they have. So that's Tuesday, the 22nd, from 1 to 3 at the library. The other one is Brain Day, which Gordon mentioned earlier, also July 22nd, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the tent. That's in conjunction with the library. It should be a very good event. They've been working hard on it.
Go back for a second. ADU +1 is going to be located where?
At the library, in the
inside.
container. Yeah.
Okay, inside,
In
not
the
in
building,
under the tent.
not under the tent.
Okay.
CAST had a pop-up event at the senior center today to explain their program. So if anyone has any questions about CAST, you can talk to the senior center, and they can, give you information or explain what they do. And then another one related to the senior center, there will be a temporary closure of the building on the 17th, this Thursday, because their parking lot is getting paved. So you can still call the staff, they can still help you out with things if you need help via phone, but the building itself is going to be closed while they're doing the paving. So that's just another update I had. The other one is the Green Options Committee, along with the Water Advisory Committee, is going to be putting on a Perfect Earth Project presentation at the Presbyterian Church this Thursday, the 17th, from 5:30 to 7:30. And it's all about making your property more earth-friendly and saving water and money too in the process. So it's going to be Edwina Von Gall, who's the founder of Perfect Earth Project, Abby Lawless, who is the principal at Farm Landscape Design, Cody Marie Miller from the Conservation and Stewardship Manager at Mashonack Preserve, and Tim Pertel, who's Shelter Island Green Options Committee and Friends of Trees, are all going to talk about options and opportunities for your yard. So things you can do to make it more environmentally friendly, more welcoming for pollinators, also things that are less expensive to maintain and just eco-friendly. So that should be a fun event. It's going, and Peconic Estuary Partnership is also helping to fund the event. So it's going to be a fun opportunity. Pre-registration is encouraged, but walk-ins are totally welcome. And so once again, that's Thursday, the 17th, this Thursday, from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Presbyterian Church. Then what else did I have?
There's the blood drive on Friday, the
Thank you.
18th, at the community center from noon until 6 p.m.
Yes.
And it's again in honor of Joan Tian. It's like last year.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And I both did it last year.
Yeah, and I just have a site plan code review. We're still moving forward, working on the site plan code revisions and wetland code revisions. We'll probably be in a couple weeks, ready for the board to look at. So those things are all moving forward. And I think that's it. That's all I had.
So we need to go into executive session to discuss a couple of the employment history of a couple of employees as well as potential land acquisition.
Make motion?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.